A service of KIBMradio.com, the Internet's home for an all old-time radio.
And now, the life of Mary Sothern. Mary, firm in her conviction that her husband, Max Sanders, did not really die, but stayed near to guide her, followed his voice, which only she heard, out into the night. In Craig's Falls, befriended by a young man named David and by his boarding house keeper, Mrs. McPherson, she is contented until she discovers that her old friends in Sanders have offered a reward for her return, and that David's good friend, Father Brady, to protect Mary, has notified Dr. John Benson of her whereabouts. When John, overjoyed at seeing her again, suggested that they drive back to Sanders immediately, Mary became hysterical and refused to go. And John Benson, after weeks of anxious search, has found Mary only to hear her cry,
"John, if you want to help me, find David. He's the only one who understands."
Now, it is a minute later. John Benson, shocked and hurt, is still staring at the woman he has loved for so long, while Father Brady, who returned to the room on hearing Mary cry out, looks on, his eyes reflecting deep sympathy and understanding.
"Please go away, John, please."
Mary, you can't hear me.
I do, John. Go away, please.
Mary, my child, Dr. Benson wants to help you.
I know, Father Brady, and I'm sorry. But John can't help me. Nobody but David understands.
Mary, I've been looking all over the city for you.
Oh, but David.
Why, you're crying. What's the matter?
Oh, at last, Julie. Help me, David.
Of course I'll help you. Are you responsible for this, Dr. Benson? What have you been saying to Mary?
I merely told her it was her duty to go home to Sanders, Mr. Drake.
Don't say that, John. I told you don't understand. I can't go back. Max told me to stay here.
Who of you to tell Mary what she should do? If she doesn't want to go back, she's not going. Mary, please. Please don't cry. No one can make you leave here unless you want to go.
David, Dr. Benson wants to do what's best for me.
But that isn't best for me, Father Brady. I can't leave Craig's Falls. Max told me my future was here. He told me not to go back to Sanders.
Mary, you don't know what you're saying. Max can't tell you anything. Max is dead.
No!
He's dead, Mary. You know that as well as I do. Dr. Benson, I disagree with you. No one is dead who lives in the hearts of those he leaves behind. You mean he's alive spiritually, Father Brady. But he can't talk to Mary. You only think you hear Max's voice.
I do hear Max's voice. I do hear it.
Mary, dear, maybe you're right. But please believe me. You must come back to Sanders. Your home is there. Your children.
No, John, no. I can't go. I can't. Oh, David, please make him understand why I can't go.
Mary, I'm going to take you back to Mrs. McPherson's now. And tomorrow we'll talk to Dr. Benson. That's all right. I'm sure he'll understand why you can't go back to Sanders after he's thought it over.
Yes, I better go home now. Yes. Thank you, David. You always understand.
Yes, David, Mary's very tired. After all, there's no great hurry. Now that Dr. Benson knows Mary is safe, he won't worry any longer. But I came back to take Mary back to Sanders. We can discuss this again tomorrow, Dr. Benson.
Yes, sure, tomorrow. Let's go.
I'll take Mary back to her boarding house, Drake, if that's where she insists upon going. No need of your taking any more trouble, now that I'm here. Dr. Benson, there are several things I'd like to talk to you about. I'd appreciate it very much if you'd stay here for a while. I'd like to take Mary home.
I'll take good care of her, Benson. She'll be all right.
Of course I will, John.
Well, if you really want me to stay, Father Brady, I will. Good. Now you and Mary go along, David. Mary needs a great deal of rest.
Yes, Father. Come, Mary.
Just a minute, David.
Yes.
John.
Yes, Mary?
John, please don't think me ungrateful for what you've done. Offering the reward and everything. I know how much that money means to you and Daddy.
The money wasn't important. Finding you was the only thing that mattered, Mary.
But it would have been important if you'd had to pay it. Please believe me, I didn't know you were worried about me until I read the newspaper today. I didn't realize.
We couldn't help worrying.
knowing you were all alone in some strange place.
But I told Daddy when I left that he mustn't worry. I told him I'd be with Max.
Now, Mary, I'm not going to let you talk another minute. Are you going to come home with me right now?
Yes, David, I'm coming. Goodbye, John, and thank you.
Good night, Mary. I'll see you in the morning.
Good night, Father Brady.
Good night, child.
You've been very kind to me.
Good night, David.
Good night, Father. Dr. Benson.
I am tired, David. So very tired.
I'm ashamed of myself, Father Brady. I let my affection for Mary make me forget my duty as her doctor. Afraid I lost my temper for a minute.
I understand.
I couldn't help it. When I saw Mary looking so pale and thin, and still speaking of Max as though we were here in this room with us, I wanted to shock her out of it. That is, shock her into a complete realization of Max's death.
Yes, a sudden shock might have done it. But wasn't it a dangerous experiment? It might have resulted in more harm than good.
I know that, Father. That's why I'm so ashamed. It's just that I've known Mary for so long, and we've always been such close friends. It hurt me to see her turn from me to Mr. Drake.
It was difficult for you, I know, Dr. Benson. But David's influence over Mary is extraordinary.
Yes. I'm beginning to understand what you meant when you told me he had a strange influence over her. As soon as he talked to her, she grew calm and reasonable. I don't understand it. After all, Father, he's really a stranger to her.
No, Dr. Benson. David was never a stranger to Mary. From the first minute they met, they each felt as though it had been destined. Both Mary and David told me that separately.
If I didn't know Mary so well and know the type of woman she is, and know how devoted she is to her children, I'd say she'd fallen in love with David Drake on the rebound, but that's impossible.
You're quite right. Mary is not in love with David. It isn't that at all. And yet, why would she desert her children?
She never would, if she were completely rational. She'll insist upon seeing her children when she's completely recovered. I know that. Mary loved Max Sanders too deeply, too devotedly, to be able to leave another man so soon after his death. I know how loyal, how fine Mary is. But what is her feeling for David Drake? Do you understand it, Father Brady?
Not entirely. I do know that David reminds Mary of someone she has known and loved in the past.
How do you know that, Father?
Mary told me. Dr. Benson, could David remind Mary in some way of her husband? Does he resemble Max Sanders?
Drake resemble Max? No, not at all. Yet, now that you mention it, I think I know what Mary means. David Drake reminds me of someone, too.
But not of Max Sanders.
No, not Max. At least I don't think so. Father Brady, do you mind if I ask you something about this David Drake?
Not at all. You want to know what sort of person he is, don't you?
Yeah. I'd like to know if his influence is good for Mary or...
Dr. Benson, I've known David nearly all my life. We grew up together. And I can assure you there's no one who knows him better than I do.
Oh. Then you vouch for him, Father.
David is one of the finest men I know. They don't come any better. He's drifted, but that's because he's been lonely and because he's never quite found himself.
Tell me, Father, do you think David is in love with Mary?
No, I don't. David isn't in love with Mary, I'm sure. But she's done a great deal for him already. She's given him an interest in life. She's the first person who ever really needed his help. I believe that's the answer.
I see. And Drake wants to keep her here, doesn't he? He doesn't want her to go back to Sanders. He'll do everything he can to persuade her not to go.
David isn't that sort of man, Dr. Benson. If he feels it's for Mary's own good, he'll urge her to go. But is it for Mary's good? Is there any real reason why Mary should go back to Sanders? Does she need medical attention?
Yes, I think she does, Father Brady. She's in an overwrought, nervous state. And Sanders, I could take care of her, build her up, but...
Wouldn't it be better, since she seems to have this obsession against returning, for her to stay here? She's improved so much in the last few days.
Father Brady, I'm convinced that Mary should go back home. I can't force her to go, and I'm going to move heaven and earth to take her back with me. But believe me, I'm not going back to Sanders without her. Young Dr. John Benson is determined. But it seems to be a battle of wills. Does he have a chance of winning against Mary's firm refusal to leave and David's obvious reluctance to let her go?
The Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation brings you Crime Photographer.
You know, wherever you go these days, you hear people speaking foreign languages.
That's true. Why, only the other day a little Frenchman came up to me and said, Anchor Hocking, les plus fameux noms de vitres.
What'd you say?
Why, I agreed with him.
Why, what does it mean?
It means Anchor Hocking, the most famous name in glass. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Marvin. Every week at this time, the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, and its more than 10,000 employees bring you another adventure of Casey, crime photographer, ace cameraman who covers the crime news of the great city. Written by Alonzo Dean Cole, our adventure for tonight, Busman's Holiday. Late afternoon, the Blue Note Cafe. Perched on a high stool before the gleaming bar is reporter Ann Williams. Beside her stands Captain Logan, chief of the Homicide Bureau, and facing them is Ethelbert, the head bartender. And the three look rather lonely.
Right now, I bet you he's standing in the middle of a nice, cool trout stream without a care in the world.
Yeah, a lucky dog.
Well, we swelter here in the city.
Well, we'll have our vacations later, Ethelbert, after Casey's all finished with his. And we'll be able to top any fish stories he brings back with him.
Yeah, we'll have a big advantage over the guy.
Boy, I'd like to have a fishing rod in my hands right now, a creel over my shoulder, and a hatband full of flies.
Oh, please don't, Captain. You get my mind off my work, and I gotta stay behind this bar for hours yet.
Yeah.
You and Miss Williams at least have the rest of this day off.
And we better start doing something about it, Miss Williams. And since Casey's away, how about an evening with me?
Well, I'd like it.
Maybe I better write the guy and tell him what goes on between you two.
Go ahead, Ethelbert. I'd like to worry the lung.
So would I. But I'm afraid that any gossip he heard about us wouldn't worry him in the least, Captain.
Where'd you like to go?
Well,
how about driving out to the beach? You can have a swim.
Oh, that'll be perfect.
You two are breaking my heart.
We're sorry for you, wage slave. Let's go, Miss Williams.
Come on. See you later, Ethelbert.
So long.
So long. Hey, Walter, bring up some more of those doggone lemons.
Hey, it's after 4 o'clock, and I'm hungry.
Me too.
Shall we go back into the Blue Note?
Oh, I eat there so often. Let's go to Rodney's Diner.
That little joint?
Can't get a better sandwich anywhere in town. And besides, I want to find out if Mamie got her engagement ring.
Mamie?
Mm-hmm. She's the cute little waitress at Rodney's.
Oh, yeah, the very young one you and Casey like.
Mm-hmm. She just turned 17, and she has a very heavy romance with a soda fountain boy at Slago's Drugstore.
Okay, we go to Rodney's. Tell me about the heavy romance.
Well, the course of true love hasn't been running smoothly. Harold, he's the boyfriend.
The soda jerk.
Mm-hmm. He's 18. He's formally proposed to Mamie, and he's been formally accepted. But she can't consider herself formally and properly engaged until he gives her a diamond ring.
Practical, yeah.
Oh, she doesn't care if the diamond's no bigger than a pinpoint, just so it's a diamond.
Oh, sure.
Harold told her he was saving his money and that she'd get the ring for her birthday. But he didn't give it to her.
Oh, what excuse did he make for not giving her the ring?
He told her his money was tied up. But he promised faithfully that she'd get the ring yesterday. So I'm naturally curious as to whether he made it.
Oh, Miss Williams, you're just naturally curious, period. Here's my car. We'll be at Rodney's Diner in 5 minutes. Get the vital information about Mamie's engagement ring. Then it's us for the beach.
Oh, with nothing to do but relax. Oh, isn't it grand to have a day off?
There's an empty table in the corner, Miss Williams.
Mm-hmm, that'll be fine, Captain. Oh, there's Mamie.
Hey, the kid looks as though she's been crying.
Oh. And she hasn't a ring on.
Harold didn't come through, apparently.
Oh, I'm so sorry. She had her heart set on it.
She's coming over here.
Hello, Miss Williams. Hello, Captain Logan.
Hello, Mamie.
Hi, kid.
What are you going to have?
Why, just some coffee and lettuce and tomato sandwich.
Double hamburger for me and coffee.
I'll get it for you.
Oh, wait a minute, Mamie.
Yeah?
Never mind.
You want to ask me about Harold, don't you, Miss Williams? Only you think maybe you shouldn't.
Yes. Did he give you your ring?
I guess it'll do me good to tell a friend like you about it. He was in here only about half an hour ago and gave it to me.
Well, then why you sit down on the mouse, kid?
And why aren't you wearing the ring?
Because it's a phony.
A phony?
Huh?
Yeah. All I wanted was a little diamond, but I wanted it real. I'd seen him advertised for as little as $23.75, only about $8 down, and the rest in easy monthly payments. Genuine diamonds set in genuine gold. I'd have been satisfied with one of them, but I didn't want a piece of 89-cent junk.
Poor kid.
Harold lied to me. For months he's told me he was saving money for my ring, but now I'm convinced that Harold Hertzheimer doesn't care anymore. He's fallen for somebody else, and he's given her what was to have been my ring.
Oh, now I can't believe that. I've seen you and Harold together, and he's crazy about you. I think you're imagining things about your boyfriend, maybe.
I ain't imagining he broke his word to me, am I? That I waited over a week for a ring he promised for my birthday and then finally got something I wouldn't be seen wearing at a garbage collector's picnic?
Oh, that's too bad.
The ring he handed me today ain't only a phony, Miss Williams. It's an old second-hand out-of-style phony. He must have bought it off a push cart. I got it here in my pocket. Look at it. The brass satin that doesn't even shine, with them 3 big pieces of glass in it.
Mamie?
Hey, waitress, how about taking my order?
Right away, mister. Excuse me, Miss Williams. I'll be back in a minute.
Captain, look at this ring.
Yeah, it's certainly old-fashioned. Hey, these are real diamonds.
Of course they're real. And about 10 carats apiece.
In an antique filigree setting.
Where did a soda fountain boy get anything like that?
Yeah. Well, this must be worth it. Miss Williams.
Hmm?
The antique jewelry collection stolen from Carlton Bishop 2 months ago.
Yes. The most valuable ring of the lot. In a dull gold, 18th century filigree setting, had 3 flawless blue-white old mine-cut diamonds in it, and the description fits this ring.
Exactly.
Oh, surely that boy Harold couldn't have been the thief who stole the Bishop jewel.
Now, before we speculate about that, I'll take this ring down to headquarters and make sure it's what we think it is. We're not jewel experts. Oh, Mamie's coming back. Let me talk.
Okay.
I've ordered your sandwiches. They'll be ready in a minute. Fine hunk of junk Harold gave me, ain't it?
Mamie, I don't suppose Harold told you where he got this ring.
No, he just handed it to me and got right out, Captain. And he should have.
The ring may not be as bad as you think it is. Miss Williams believes the setting's gold.
Looks like brass to me. Oh, nobody sticks 3 big hunks of glass in a real gold setting.
Well, they may not be glass. They may be, something a little better.
Zircons, maybe?
Maybe. Suppose I take it to a jeweler and find out for you what they are.
Okay.
And, Mamie, don't tell anyone that you let me have the ring. Especially don't tell Harold.
I won't even see that drift. Oh, the counterman's setting out one of my orders. Excuse me, I'll get him.
Who will you see at headquarters about that ring, Captain?
Now, Mallory is in charge of the Bishop robbery investigation.
Captain Mallory, hmm?
Yeah.
You and he don't get along well together.
Well, Mallory's a good cop, Miss Williams, but strictly off the record, he's a credit hog. He's butted into several cases of mine where he had no right to it.
What's that for?
This ring may be the key to the Bishop robbery, and I might teach Mallory a lesson by butting into one of his cases and cracking.
Oh, that I'd love to see happen.
Miss Williams, this is our day off. Shall we take a busman holiday?
Captain Logan, the beach is out. You sleuth, and maybe I get an exclusive story.
Our story will continue in just a moment. Let's have a quick question and answer session about beer and ale.
Okay, shoot.
All right. What makes good beer good?
Good brewers, of course.
Right you are. And what keeps good beer good?
Glass?
Glass.
Glass bottles?
Yes, because glass bottles and glass bottles alone can bring you beer and ale as it comes from the brewery, unaffected by any foreign taste or flavor. And now we have a new kind of bottle.
A new kind of bottle?
A glass bottle that's different. It requires no deposit.
No returns to the store.
When the bottle is empty, just throw it away.
And its other advantages?
1, it saves space in the icebox. 2, it's a natural for picnics. 3, it belongs on the finest table. And 4, don't forget, it protects the real brewery flavor.
As only glass can protect it.
Yes. The revolutionary new Anchor Glass one-way, no-deposit bottle is sweeping America. For flavor, demand beer in glass bottles. For convenience, demand your favorite brand in the new Anchor Glass one-way, no-deposit bottle, a product of Anchor Hocking. The most famous name in glass.
This ring is definitely one of the pieces stolen from Carlton Bishop, Logan.
I thought it was, Mallory.
Where'd you get it?
I found it
Found it?
after a great deal of hard work.
Captain Logan worked his fingers to the bone searching for that ring, Captain Mallory. Practically, that is.
Is that so, Miss Williams? You know the Bishop robbery is my case, Logan. Why have you interfered?
The Evanston murder was my case, Mallory, and the Borelli stabbing and the White affair.
So that's the way it is, huh?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay. We'll play it that way. Thanks for the ring.
Thanks for your identification of it. Come on, Miss Williams. We'll resume our interrupted holiday. See you later, Mallory.
Yes. I'll see you later.
Harold's in the drugstore, Captain Logan. You can see him through the window. That long, skinny kid back of the soda fountain there.
He doesn't look like a crook, Miss Williams. Then crooks seldom do look like crooks.
Well, I can't believe that he had anything to do with the Bishop robbery.
He had that ring Mallory identified. Does the boy know you?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And a lot of people in the store. Someone might recognize me as a cop. You go in and get the kid out. I'll talk to him here in the car.
Well, what excuse shall I give him?
Tell him who I am, and I want to see him, but don't tell him why. If he has anything on his conscience, that'll worry him, soften him up. I'll be watching through the window to make sure he doesn't try to run away.
Oh, okay. I'll bring him out here. Captain Logan, this is Harold.
Pleased to meet you, Captain Logan. Miss Williams said you wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
What's this all about? Miss Williams was sort of mysterious.
Haven't you any idea what it might be about, son?
No, sir.
It's about a ring.
A ring?
That ring you gave Mamie. The stolen ring.
How'd you find out I stole it?
Oh, you did steal it, Harold.
No, it wasn't stealing, Miss Williams. I was only taking part of what he owes me.
Carlton Bishop owed you something?
Carlton Bishop?
Well, who did you take the ring from, Harold?
Oh, my cousin Louis.
Cousin Louis?
Yeah, I thought you knew.
Well, we know, son, but won't you tell us the whole story?
I might as well. I'll feel better when I get it off my chest.
Of course you will.
I know Mamie has talked a lot to you, Miss Williams, so you know I was saving money for her engagement ring.
Yes, Harold.
Well, I'd saved almost $100. I was going to get her a real swell diamond ring. Louis said he could get me one at wholesale, so I gave him the money.
Louis didn't deliver, huh?
No. I found out he'd lost my dough in a dice game.
Nice boy, your cousin.
Yeah.
Louis swore up and down he'd give me my money back, but, well, he was going to be yesterday. He said he had a bet on a horse that was a sure thing.
Well, Louis seems to be quite an operator.
And then came yesterday and no money from Louis.
I couldn't even find Louis, Miss Williams. The day I got desperate, I went to his rooming house with my mind made up to wait there till he came in, no matter how long it took. And if he didn't pay up, I was going to take it out of his hide.
That idea had merit. Now, how'd you get that ring, son?
While I was sitting alone in Louis' room, I got thinking of something he used to do when we were kids together.
He's about your age?
A year older, 19. Louis always had a loose board in the floor of his room at home with a space underneath where he hid things, like you see sometimes in the movies. I got wondering if he didn't have a hiding place like that in his rooming house. I turned up the rug, begun looking in it, and pretty soon I found it.
The ring was hidden there?
The ring and a lot of other fake jewelry.
Old-fashioned stuff? Like the ring, Harold?
Yes, sir. Necklaces, bracelets. All of it looked like it'd come out of a junk shop. I took that crummy ring because the glass in it looked almost like diamonds, and I just had to have some kind of an engagement ring for Mamie.
Did you take anything besides the ring?
No, sir. I put the rug and the board back in place and left.
Oh.
But I ain't a thief, Captain. I only took back a little part of what that heel Louis owes me.
We're going to pay a call on that heel, Louis. And if you told me the truth, son, you won't have to worry about what he owes you. There's a whopping big reward offered for the return of the Bishop jewels.
What? Bishop jewels?
We'll explain that on the way to Louis.
There's Louis' rooming house, Captain. 409.
It's got too dark to see numbers, kid. I'll park right here.
You're almost in front of it.
Come on, Miss Williams.
Okay.
The door of Louis' rooming house left open?
No, we have to ring. But Mrs. Pettingill, the landlady, knows me. She'll let us go up to Louis' room.
I'll press the button. Now, don't tell the landlady or anybody that I'm a cop.
All right. It's hard to believe what you and Miss Williams told me in the car, Captain. Louis' a heel and a chiseler, but I never thought he'd steal. Or at least not anything big.
Someone's coming to the door.
You do the talking, kid.
Yes, sir. Evening, Mrs. Pettingill.
So you're back again.
Yes, sir, I want to see my cousin.
I want to see him myself. He hasn't come in.
We'll go up to his room and wait.
All right. But I'll be down here watching when you go up.
Hey, what you mean by that, Harold?
I don't know. She ain't a very friendly woman.
Yeah. Now, where's Louis' room?
4 flights up.
Oh, it would be.
This is Louis' room.
Yeah, the door wasn't locked.
He never locked it. I'll turn on the light.
Now, let's close the door. Is this room just as you left it, Harold?
It looks the same to me, Captain Logan.
Now, roll back the rug and show me that loose board.
Yes, sir. Here it is.
Now, lift the board as you did before.
Okay. Oh, it's a pretty tight fit. I gotta use my pocket knife. There. Look, Captain, the
space underneath that board is empty.
Where's the jewelry you say you left there, Harold?
Oh, I don't know. It was full of stuff and I left it. I swear I did. Louis must have come home.
The landlady says he hasn't come home.
But someone's been here.
Say, what is this? What's going on?
Now?
Oh, hello, Harold, old pal. Why you got my carpet rolled up?
I want to ask you some questions, Louis.
So do I. Step inside, young fella, and we'll close this door.
Who are you, mister? Who's this lady?
Now, never mind the formal introductions. What'd you have under that loose board on your floor?
Nothing. I didn't know there was a loose board there.
You're lying, Louis. You always had a place like this where you hid things.
That's way back when we were kids.
It's now, too. You had jewelry hidden there this afternoon. Stolen jewelry.
You're nuts.
No, I saw it. I took a ring from it because I thought it was only phony stuff. Now I know it was real and that you came back here after I left and took the rest of it away.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm going to make you tell the truth.
Hold it, kid, hold it. Harold, what time did you leave here with that ring this afternoon?
About 2:30.
Where have you been since 2:30, Louis?
I've been shooting pool and I can prove it. Now look here, mister, I don't get this at all. If you're a cop, I ain't done nothing. Except maybe I owe my cousin a couple of bucks.
You owe me $100.
It ain't no crime to owe. And if anybody thinks I've been up to anything funny in this room since 2:30 this afternoon, I just ain't been here.
We're going to find out about that.
I'll do the finding out, Logan.
Well, Captain Mallory.
Hello, Mallory. Had a hunch you'd tail me after we left headquarters.
And I've been listening outside this door while you developed my case against these two punks. Well, it's open and shut. Miss Louis stole the Bishop jewels and hid them under the floor.
I didn't steal anything. I don't know what the story...
Shut up. And the other punk found him and glommed the whole lot.
I only took that
And
ring.
you shut up. You took everything. You didn't believe the stuff was phony. You knew exactly what it was. Now, what have you done with it?
I haven't done anything with
I
it.
never
Take him
stole any-
down to headquarters, boys.
Captain Mallory, wait a minute.
This is my case, Captain Logan. Take him to the car, boys.
Tell her you guys
I
are
think
wrong.
you're altogether wrong, putting heavy pressure on both of those boys, Captain Mallory.
Oh, really, Miss Williams?
Yes. Louis no bargain. But I believe Harold told us the truth. When he left here this afternoon, he had nothing but that ring with him. And then his cousin came back
Now, how did Louis, his cousin, get into the room? Through the window?
He walked in through that door, of course.
All right, come in here, Mrs. Pettingill.
All right.
This is the landlady here.
Mm-hmm. We've met her.
Mrs. Pettingill, tell this lady and the officer what you just told me.
Nobody came through this here door from the time that Harold boy closed it, when he left the room at 2:30, until he came back here with you two. I know because the door was watched every minute, for the very good reason that Louis feller owes me 3 weeks' rent.
And when a roomer owes his landlady, he's watched. Furthermore, I'm personally acquainted with Mr. and Mrs. Pettingill and know they're on the level. Well, thanks for bringing me that ring, Captain Logan. It helped me break my case. So long.
So long, Captain Mallory.
Yeah. Well, we should have gone to the beach, Captain.
Yeah.
Do you think those Pettingills are on the level?
Well, Mallory wouldn't have vouched for him unless they were 100%.
Well, then Harold lied to us. He didn't take just the ring. He took everything.
I believed him, Miss Williams, and it's a professional habit of mine to disbelieve.
Well, I believed him too, Captain. Maybe someone was spying on him when he found that loose board and the stuff underneath it. And after he left...
Now, the only way anyone can see into this room is through the window.
Well, it's 4 stories above the ground.
But there's a window directly opposite. A dark window in the next house.
And it's a good 15 feet away across that court. If anyone saw Harold from there, they couldn't have gotten across afterwards.
Now, wait a minute. Come here beside the window.
Oh, okay, but what?
Now, look. On the windowsill.
Scratches.
Fresh scratches. The kind a man's shoe makes.
You think someone came in this window?
Yeah.
But no one could jump across that wide court. Not even a human fly could climb up those smooth walls.
The guy couldn't have come down from the roof either.
Well, then how...
Now, wait. I think I've got it. This window once had shutters.
Yes?
When the shutters were taken down or rotted away, nobody bothered to remove their hinges. Look. Strong, old-fashioned hinges set in concrete.
Well, I don't see
I'm
what...
turning out the lights here. Now, we'll get out of this room and close the door.
Captain, what on earth?
Now, I may get the Bishop jewel thief.
Do you mind explaining?
Now, come on. We're going down to the street and wait outside that house next door. When we see someone come out of that house with a bag or suitcase in his hand, and something he can't pack in a bag or suitcase, I'll be sure I figured right.
Something he can't pack into a bag or suitcase.
A duplicate of something that Lug Casey has been enjoying himself with all day.
Now that we're all set outside the house next door, Captain, will you take me into your full confidence?
Sure. Here's the way I figure it. A thief who got away with the Bishop jewels is an experienced crook, and he knew he had to let this stuff cool off plenty before he attempted to market it in its most valuable form. Well, while it was cooling off, he didn't want it close enough to burn him if we cops walked in, and he didn't want it so far away that he couldn't keep an eye on it.
He planted it in a house he didn't live in where he could watch it through a window.
That's my guess. He put it under that board in Louis' room.
And he was watching when Harold found the loose board this afternoon.
So he had to move it to a new hiding place.
Well, how did he get in here? Mrs. Pettingill would have seen him if he'd come in the front door. How could he come across the court? He couldn't jump, he couldn't climb, he couldn't get down from the roof.
He pulled himself across.
Pulled himself?
With his hand.
Oh,
and I figure he just pulled himself back again when you, Harold, and I arrived, and he's been waiting for the cops to clear out of this neighborhood so he could make a getaway.
But how did he pull himself across that court with his hand? And what is a duplicate of something that Casey's using on his vacation got
quiet.
to do?
Guy's coming out of that house.
Oh, he has a suitcase in his hand.
And something too long to be packed in the suitcase.
A fishing rod.
A trout rod. Now I'm sure, and I'm
Let
getting
go of
it.
me. What's the big idea?
I'm a cop, fella, and I'm searching you.
He had a gun in his pocket.
Also, this little bag, Miss Williams. Look what's inside.
The Bishop jewels.
And we'll just turn them over with this guy to Captain Mallory. It's his case.
We'll join the crowd at the Blue Note in just a moment. Too many people are talking about the heat. I want to talk about something cool. So let's imagine a big frosty pitcher with ice cubes tinkling against its crystal sides, ice-cold lemonade or iced tea or delicious fruit juices. Now, whatever cool drink you serve, it will look better and taste better when poured from a new Sunburst crystal pitcher. Now, what is a Sunburst crystal pitcher? Why, it's a radiantly beautiful 2-quart crystal pitcher in the magnificent new kind of crystal the whole country is talking about and admiring. It picks up light like a diamond and scatters it in 1,000 flashing rays. And here's the surprise. You can own one of these magnificent, sparkling Sunburst crystal pitchers for only 50 cents. Yes, only 50 cents, or slightly more in distant cities. Look for it tomorrow in the windows and on the counters of the retail stores of America. Sunburst Crystal is a product of Anchor Hocking, the most famous name in glass.
I'll bet Captain Mallory wasn't happy at all when you handed him them Bishop jewels together with a guy who really stole them, Captain.
Oh, of course he was, Ethelbert. As a good cop, he was glad to see the case properly solved.
Mm-hmm. He was as glad about it as a movie star when a co-star steals the picture.
Sure.
Say, you ain't told me yet how that thief got across the 15-foot court 4 stories above the ground.
That was simple, Ethelbert. He pulled himself across with his hands.
What? I don't get it, Miss Williams.
I might not have tumbled to it if I hadn't been envying Casey his fishing trip vacation. Trout rods were on my mind.
How does a trout rod...
The thief had a 12-footer when the sections were fitted together. Holding it at arm's length, Ethelbert, and leaning out of his window, he could reach one of the old shutter hinges on the opposite building. And when he reached it...
His rod didn't have a trout line on it, but a strong steel cable that hooked onto the shutter hinge.
And he fastened the other end of the cable to a steam pipe in his own room. Then, using heavy gloves, he pulled himself across the cable hand over hand. Well, it wasn't a difficult stunt.
And when he went back across the court, he unhooked the cable with his trout rod and threw it in.
Oh. It ain't difficult when you figure it out. Or is it?
You figure it out, Ethelbert.
Does Mamie know, and has she forgiven Harold?
Mamie knows everything, and she has forgiven Harold all.
What's worse, she's going to marry the guy.
And with the reward those two brats will collect from Carlton Bishop, Harold's not only buying her an engagement ring, but a wedding band and furniture.
How about Louis?
Oh, Louis still owes Harold $100.
And chances are he always will.
Crime Photographer, starring Stotts Cotsworth as Casey, is brought to you each Thursday by the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation, makers of Fire King oven glass, Anchor glass containers, Anchor caps and closures, all products of Anchor Hocking, the most famous name in glass. Crime Photographer is directed by John Dietz. The original music is by Archie Blyer, and the program features Miss Jan Miner as Anne and John Gibson as Ethelbert. Captain Logan is played by Bernard Lenrow, and Herman Chittison is the Blue Note pianist. This is Tony Marvin saying goodnight for the Anchor Hocking Glass Corporation of Lancaster, Ohio, with offices in all principal cities of the United States and Canada. Thursday night on CBS is the biggest show in town. So stay tuned for exciting dramatizations on Reader's Digest Radio Edition, which follows immediately over most of these stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
hope I haven't kept you waiting. Yes, this is the Crime Club. I'm the librarian. Sometimes a sucker wins. Yes, we have that story for you. Come right over. You're here. Good. Take the easy chair by the window. Comfortable? The manuscript is on this shelf. Here it is. Sometimes a sucker wins. The very exciting story of a girl who finds the key to her brother's disappearance and opens the door to murder. Let's take a look at it under the reading lamp. When Joan Adams arrived in the city, she felt uneasy, apprehensive. But the thought of turning back never occurred to her. She had a job to do, one that would require courage and patience. As soon as she'd obtained a room, she phoned District Attorney Nelson.
District Attorney Nelson was a busy man. At least that's what his secretary told me every time I phoned. But I kept calling, and finally she gave me an appointment. When I arrived there, Nelson made me wait almost an hour. Then his secretary ushered me into his office. For a few minutes, he pretended to be busy with the papers on his desk. Then he looked up at me.
Now, Miss Adams, what did you want to see me about?
My brother, Larry.
Oh, you read the papers, didn't you?
Yes, I read them.
Well?
The story they printed is a lie.
I'm sorry, Miss Adams. I'm afraid I disagree with you.
Look, Mr. Nelson, I've come all the way down here from Hillsborough because I think my brother is dead. I believe he was murdered.
I see. And what makes you so sure he was murdered?
I just know it, that's all.
Oh, the feminine intuition test, eh?
No, it's much more than that. I knew my brother better than anyone else in the world. He would never run away from anything. And he would never steal.
No? Look, Miss Adams, your brother was my assistant in charge of an investigation into the building racket. Certain important files were in his care. One day, without a word to anyone, he disappears with the files and with every dollar he has in the bank. Doesn't that sound like a payoff to you?
No, Larry couldn't be bribed. He just couldn't.
I wish I could share your faith in your brother, Miss Adams, but I'm afraid the facts speak for themselves.
Well, then, you won't help me?
Help you? I should say not. Due to your brother's malfeasance, the integrity of this office has been impugned.
I see. And if you get involved with me, it might hurt your chances for political advancement.
How dare you insinuate such a thing? I'm here to represent the citizens of this city. The only
thought why don't you stop? What? Save that bilge for your campaign speeches.
Why, Young lady, please leave this office at once.
Don't worry, I'm leaving. But let me tell you this. I'm going to clear my brother's name if it's the last thing I do. When I walked out of the building, I turned right and went to the corner to get a bus back to my room. As I stood there, I noticed a green coupe parked behind the bus sign. There was a man at the wheel. As I looked in his direction, he pulled his hat brim low over his eyes and slouched down in his seat. Then the bus came along. I got in, sat down in the rear. After we started, I happened to glance out the rear window. I saw that green coupe pull slowly away from the curb. Just when I began to feel sure I was being followed, the coupe turned off the avenue on which we were traveling. When the bus stopped at my corner, I got off and began walking across the street to my rooming house. I was about halfway over when I heard the motor. I looked around just in time to see the car.
Are you all right, miss?
Yes, I guess so.
Gee, that sure was a close shave.
Yeah, sure was. I told myself it was an accident. But the car that almost ran me down was a green coupe. When I got up to my room, I was frightened and discouraged. I had only one clue. A month before, in a gossip column syndicated in the Hillsborough paper, Larry had been linked with Roxy Haver, the burlesque queen. When I'd written him about it, he'd laughed it off. I looked up Roxy Haver's number in the directory, and then I called her.
Hello?
Hello, Miss Haver?
Yeah.
This is Joan Adams.
Who?
Joan Adams, Larry's sister. You remember my brother, don't you?
Well, yeah. I guess everybody does.
But, I mean, you knew him.
Me? Whatever gave you that idea?
Well, I read about it in Guy Gilmore's column, about a month ago.
Oh, that. That was just some publicity dreamed up on a press agent.
But Larry wrote me it was true.
Now, look, honey, maybe he did, but he was just stringing you. If I had $1 for every guy who claimed he went out with me, I'd have picked up more dough than Stymie.
I know.
Sorry, honey. I gotta hang up now.
Wait.
Yeah?
Miss Haver, you're the only lead I have. I've got to see you.
Huh?
I'm coming down to your hotel right now.
Yo, what? Say, don't you understand English? I told you I never knew your brother.
I said I'm coming right down.
Wait a minute. I'll see you. You know where the Market Street subway station is, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, I'll meet you there in half an hour. I'll be near the newsstand at the rear of the platform.
Right. Goodbye. Miss Haver?
Yeah. Keep your voice down, kid, and face the tracks.
What's the matter?
Nothing. I just want to keep my nose clean, that's all. Now, what do you want?
You did know Larry, didn't you?
Yeah. He went out with me a couple of times.
Why?
Huh?
Oh, now, please don't misunderstand. You see, I know Larry didn't like making the rounds, nightclubs and things like that. He was on a job, wasn't he?
Search me. All he told me was that he liked my company.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Then why did you deny knowing him?
Look, honey, I gotta watch my steps, see? Publicity's okay, but not in a caper like this.
Oh. I don't know. I was so sure you could help me.
I understand. Listen, honey, I'm going to give you a good tip. Go
Yes?
on home and forget about this mess.
Well, it's easy for you to say. He wasn't your brother.
Well, what are you going to do?
I'm going to keep digging till I get the truth.
Okay, honey, do what you want. Only don't call me, and whatever you do, don't come near my hotel. So long, kid.
I watched Roxy go up the subway steps. I turned and walked to the front of the platform to wait for a train.
All right, everybody, take it easy. Keep back. Keep back, will you?
The platform was crowded and everyone surged forward. Then just when the train was coming into the station, someone in the rear pushed me.
Hey, what's the matter with you, miss? You trying to get yourself killed?
Someone pushed me.
Huh? Who?
I don't know.
You don't know, huh? If you ask me, I think you were trying to jump, but you lost your nerve.
Well, you're crazy.
Not me, sister. Now, come on, beat it before I call the cops. Come on, get going.
That subway guard didn't know it, but he'd given me an idea. I went down to police headquarters. When I told the desk sergeant my name, he sent me in to a Lieutenant Calvin. Calvin listened to my story in silence. His eyes were cold, skeptical.
That's quite a story, Miss Adams.
But it's true, every word of it.
I'm not saying it isn't. But even assuming the facts, there's the possibility that both incidents were accidental.
But I tell you, they couldn't have been accidents. Someone is trying to prevent me from finding out what really happened to my brother.
I know what happened to him.
You do?
Yeah. You see, you were sent to me because I'm in charge of the Larry Adams case. Your brother was paid off, and now he's hiding out.
You too, huh?
Yeah. Me too. I'm convinced of it.
Of course. You couldn't possibly be wrong, could you?
No. Miss Adams, I'll let you in on a little secret. A report's in that your brother's been seen in Mexico.
I don't believe it. If Larry were alive, he'd communicate with me in some way.
Not if he were wanted.
I tell you, he would.
Have it your own way. You know, Miss Adams, you've been annoying quite a few officials by poking around in this matter. I thought I'd put you wise so you wouldn't waste your time.
I'm not wasting my time. I'm determined to clear my brother's name.
Maybe so. But if you're smart, you'll catch the next train home.
That sounds like a warning, Lieutenant.
It is. You see, I'd hate to see a pretty girl like you get hurt.
After seeing Lieutenant Calvin, I was more determined than ever to vindicate my brother. Calvin had done nothing to encourage me, except in one way. I was annoying people with my poking around. Perhaps I'd annoy the right person. A few days later, I got a telephone call. Hello?
Hello, is this Joan Adams?
Yes? Who is this?
Never mind. I understand you want to know something about your brother.
Yes?
I know something, baby. Hello, you still there?
Yes, I'm here. It's just that What did you want to tell me?
Not so fast, baby. I don't talk on the phone.
Oh, well, where can I see you?
There's a little place called the Blue Swan at South and Main. Meet me there tonight at 7:30. I know what you look like. Just sit in a booth and wait, okay?
Yes.
Just one little thing. I don't want any other company.
What do you mean?
Don't invite any cops. I don't like them.
Don't worry. Neither do I.
Good. Okay, see you tonight. Hello, Miss Adams.
Oh.
What's the matter, baby?
Nothing. I didn't see you come in.
No? I was in the back watching you. Come alone?
Yes?
I hope so. I thought I saw a guy hanging around outside.
I swear I haven't spoken to the police.
Yeah? You know, with those big blue eyes of yours, you could make me believe anything.
Shall we talk?
Okay. The name's Griffo.
Griffo?
Yeah. Don't mean nothing to you, huh? Ever hear of Augie Strecker?
I think so. I've seen his name mentioned in the papers.
Uh-huh. Every time something happens that ain't kosher, the papers like to hint maybe Augie has something to do with it. You know what? He has.
Did he have anything to do with my brother's disappearance?
Oh, that's asking a lot, baby. You see, I work for Augie.
Oh.
But don't get me wrong. Sometimes when you work, you ain't satisfied, but you pay.
I see. Well, I have some money, not much, but maybe I could...
Wait a minute.
What's the matter?
You sure you didn't tip off the cops?
Yes, why?
I thought I saw that guy again through the window.
I don't see anybody.
Well, maybe not, baby. You know, talking to you ain't exactly healthy for a lot of reasons. I don't like it here.
Where can we go?
I don't know. We can't go to my place. I live at one of Augie's hotels. Cops keeping tab on you where you live?
I don't think so, but...
But what?
Nothing. I want to hear about my brother.
Okay. I got my car outside. Let's go over to your place.
All right. We got into Griffo's car and started off. He didn't say anything, just drove rapidly, doubling on our tracks until at last we reached my rooming house. Griffo was silent till the door of my room closed behind me.
Yeah. Now maybe we'll be alone.
What are you looking for?
Just checking to see that you haven't planted a listening device or two.
Well?
Okay, you're clean. Mind if I sit on this sofa with you?
No.
Thanks. I'll just put this heater on the coffee table. You know, just in case.
Do you always carry a gun?
Yeah, it comes in handy. Well, let's talk. You were saying that you haven't got much dough.
No, I haven't. Just about $800.
That all?
Yes, but maybe I could raise some more.
How much?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to have time.
That's not so good. Anybody ever tell you you're a looker?
No.
cut it out. You don't have to play cute with me. Come here.
Oh, please.
You know, baby, money ain't everything. Now, maybe we can work this
Don't,
out.
please. I'll get the money.
Forget that, though. Now, come on, baby. You don't want to play hard to get, do you?
Don't.
All right. Give me that gun. Give it to me. Ah!
It was only after he fell that I felt the gun in my hand. I stared at it, and then I dropped it. I sat watching the red stain on Griffo's shirt. I don't know how long I sat there. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. I stood, but I couldn't walk. Then the door opened. A man came in. Big man with a hawk-like face. It was only when he closed the door I noticed he held a gun. He looked at Griffo and at me. Then he put away his gun.
I see you beat me to the punch, Miss Adams.
Who are you?
I'm Strecker, Augie Strecker. Oh, you poor kid. Guess you never killed anybody before, did you? Well, you did a good job. You know, I want to thank you.
Thank me?
Yeah. For Griffo here. You saved me the bother.
I didn't mean to kill him.
No? He's dead.
I was fighting with him, and the gun went off.
Oh, I see. Look, I know a little about murder. Better make up a better story. That one will sound phony to a jury.
A jury?
Sure. They try you for shooting people. Remember? Now, this thing looks bad. You invite a man up to your room, someone you think had something to do with your brother.
How did you know that?
Well, it's my business to know everything. Anyway, as I was telling you, you're up here with a guy you think can help you. You threaten him with a gun. He doesn't talk. You kill him. Yeah. Looks bad.
That isn't what happened.
Sure, I know. But who's going to believe you?
What should I do?
Well, you did me a favor knocking him off. I'll help you get rid of the body and get you out of town.
No, but shouldn't I report this?
Okay. Do it your way. So long.
Wait.
What do you want?
Help me. Help me get rid of him. I packed my suitcases and carried them down to Griffo's car. I brought back a lap robe. Then I returned to the car and sat in the front seat. Soon I saw Strecker in the vestibule, carrying a dark bundle. He came out hurriedly, crossed the sidewalk, and opened the rear door of the car. He put the body in. The legs dangled. And he tucked them in, covered Griffo with the robe, and leaned the suitcases against him. Slammed the door shut, got in alongside of me. And we drove off.
You come from Hillsborough, don't you?
Yes.
I'll drive you to the Westbridge station. We just about make the 923.
What are you going to do with Griffo?
Oh, don't worry about that. I always take good care of anybody who tries to double-cross me. Oh, by the way, Miss Adams, I'm buying you a one-way ticket to your hometown. Understand?
Yes.
Good. Something tells me you've got a lot more sense than poor Griffo.
Strecker handled the wheel with a reckless disregard of traffic lights and a contempt for other drivers. There was one moment when I thought the car would overturn. It was at the railway crossing when we swerved to avoid hitting the gateman. When we reached the station, Strecker stopped the car, well out of the range of the lights there. And he got out.
You wait here. I'll get your ticket.
All right. Please hurry back.
Okay. Take it easy.
He glanced in the rear of the car and then walked to the station. I felt like jumping out of the car and running. I remembered what Stricker had said. And the way he looked when he said it. Then I heard footsteps approaching. I was glad to hear them. They stopped at the car, and I looked up.
Hello, Miss Adams.
It was Lieutenant Calvin. He was standing there with his hand on the window, watching me. And he looked into the rear of the car.
Leaving town?
Yes,
Kind of sudden, isn't it?
I guess so.
You know, I went over to your house to see you. From what I saw there, I gathered you were leaving us.
I didn't have much time to pack. I wanted to make the train.
I see. I figured you'd be taking this one. I tore out here in a prowl car to catch you. Just about made it, didn't I?
Yes. What do you want?
Well, it's about your brother.
My brother?
Yeah. Remember that report I mentioned about his having been seen in Mexico? Well, they checked on it, and it's not true. Just one of those things.
Oh.
What's the matter? I thought I'd be in for at least as strong I told you so.
No. As a matter of fact, Lieutenant, I've decided that you were right.
You have?
Yes, I guess I've just been foolish about things. And that's why I'm going home.
I'm sorry you're leaving.
Anything wrong, Miss Adams?
What? No, Mr. Strecker, not at all.
Hello, Augie.
Hello.
I didn't expect to find you here.
No? Here's your ticket, Miss Adams.
Thank you.
Was there anything you wanted, Lieutenant?
No, Augie. Not right now.
Then suppose you leave us alone.
Okay. I'll be seeing you. Oh, and maybe you too, Miss Adams. So long.
Calvin began walking away. And then he stopped. He looked at the rear of the car and started to walk back.
Stricker.
Yeah?
Your tail light is out. If I were you, I'd have it fixed. I wouldn't want to have to pull you in, you know.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
From a distance, I finally heard Lieutenant Calvin drive off. I was still shaking. It was the sound of the train arriving that steadied me a little. Strecker got my suitcases out of the car.
Well, Miss Adams, I guess you better get moving.
May I have my bags, please?
Don't you want me to carry them for you?
No, thanks. I'd rather not.
Okay. Goodbye, Miss Adams.
I didn't answer him. I just took my suitcases and walked to the train. I could feel Strecker's eyes watching me until I got on. I found a seat next to a woman. It was on the side facing the station. I kept my head down till the train started. Then I looked out of the window. The car was gone.
Are you feeling all right, miss?
What?
I said, are you all right? You know, you look kind of shaky.
No, I'm fine. I'm just a bit tired.
Oh, gone far?
Hillsborough.
Hillsborough. I hear that's a nice little town.
Yes, it's nice.
I like small towns. It's much better than living in the city, I always say. It's more neighborly. Don't you think so?
I'm sorry, I wasn't listening.
Oh, that's all right. I know how it is. Sometimes a person doesn't feel like saying a word. Perhaps you'd like to read. Wait, I have a book. Here it is.
Don't bother.
Oh, nonsense. It's no bother. Go ahead, take it. It's awfully interesting. It's about a murder. What? Why, what's the matter? Where are you going?
I got up and walked unsteadily down the car. The wheels of the train must have been listening to what that woman said, because they repeated it.
A murder, a murder, a murder, a murder, a murder.
I couldn't breathe. And suddenly the wheel screamed. The train shuddered and flung me to the floor. My head hit the top of the seat. I was lost in darkness. When I opened my eyes, I had to close them again. The light was too bright, and I thought I'd seen a face very close, a face which didn't belong there. I waited a while, and then I slowly opened my eyes again. A man was bending over me. It was Lieutenant Calvin.
Take it easy, Miss Adams.
Where am I?
In a hospital. But don't worry. The doctors assure me you're all right. You may have a bump where you struck your head, but it's nothing serious.
The train. Well, what happened?
Well, there was a collision. You were knocked unconscious and brought back here.
I can't stay here. I've got to leave town right away.
I'm afraid that's impossible for the time being.
Why? You said yourself I was all right.
No, it's not that, Miss Adams. You see, the train you were on collided with a car.
A car?
Yeah. A car driven by Strecker.
Strecker? He couldn't have disposed of Griffo's body. There wasn't time. Calvin was staring at me with his cold eyes.
You see, Miss Adams, on his way back from the station where the road cuts across the tracks, Strecker tried to beat the train to the crossing. He lost. Tell me, do you feel well enough to get out of bed and get dressed?
Yes.
Okay. I'll be waiting for you outside in the corridor.
It didn't take me very long, considering everything. When I came out into the hall, I guess I swayed a little. Lieutenant Calvin reached out to take my arm, but I shook him off. Well, where do we go from here? To headquarters?
No, we won't have to go that far. What? You just have to cross the hall into that room. A friend of yours is in there.
I walked slowly to the door and opened it. There was a screen around the bed. I entered the room, closed the door. Seemed years before I walked behind that screen.
What do you say, baby?
Griffo!
Yeah, it's me in person. I'm a hard guy to kill, ain't I? Now, look, baby, I haven't much time. I want you to listen.
Yes?
Up in your room, I was talking to you about your brother.
Yes?
Strecker had him bumped off. Augie had Roxy Haver get in touch with him. She played it like she was a stoolie with info to sell. Told him to keep it quiet. Your brother was a sucker for it. He's in the river, near the bridge.
Did you tell this to the police?
No. But don't worry, baby. They're listening now.
He made a gesture with his head, and I saw the wire along the wall. There was a listening device in the room.
I don't care this time.
Is Strecker dead?
Yeah. He always was a lousy driver. I told him to let me take the wheel.
But how could you? With that bullet in you.
Bullet. That's good. That's a hot one. I thought you were wise by now.
Wise?
Yeah. It's like the green coupe and that subway job. You see, up in your room we gave a performance. Blank cartridge and a red stain. To bluff a sucker out of the game. But you know, baby, sometimes a sucker wins.
And so closes tonight's story, Sometimes a Sucker Wins. James Erthine wrote the radio script. Roger Bauer produced and directed. Joan Tompkins played the part of Joan. The cast included Sidney Smith, Larry Haynes, Arthur Vinton, Cameron Prudhomme, and Anne Loring. Oh, I beg your pardon. Hello, I hope I haven't kept you waiting. This is the Crime Club. I'm the librarian. Yes, come over a week from tonight. Good. We have the very intriguing story of a fish that told a story of murder. It's called Fish for Entree. In the meantime, there's a new Crime Club book available this week and every week at bookstores everywhere.
This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Mr. District Attorney, starring David Bryan. Mr. District Attorney, champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And it shall be my duty as district attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens. This is David Bryan. In a moment, we'll bring you another case from the files of Mr. District Attorney. But first, a word from our sponsor.
And now, here is our star, David Bryan, as Paul Garrett, Mr. District Attorney.
Before a district attorney can begin his search for a murderer, there are three things he must know: when and where the murder was committed, and the identity of the victim. All three of these elements were unknown when this case began. It started with a midnight call from Harrington, asking me to meet him at the railroad freight yards on the outskirts of the city.
It's the third boxcar that's starting over there, Chief. We're just past the switch end. Your detective and a brakeman were going through the cars looking for hobos when they spotted a duffel bag in the empty. First, they thought it was something some foe had left behind. Then, when they went to lift it, they realized there was a body in it.
Any identification, Harrington?
No. Female, Caucasian. Coroner said she was about 21 years old.
Any clothing?
Yeah, but no laundry marks. Lab boy said everything must have been home laundered.
Coroner estimate the time of death?
Mm-hmm. About 7 hours ago, between 5 and 6 p.m. Here we are.
Can we get a little light in here?
Oh, sure. Hey, Charlie, turn on those spots. Mr. Garrett wants some light in here.
Thanks, Charlie. That's good.
Hey, I'll give you a boost up, Chief.
Thanks. Okay, give me a hand now.
No, it's all right. I can make it. Well, there she is. Pretty brutal job of stabbing.
That duffel bag there.
Yeah. Duffel bag itself won't help much. Kind anybody could pick up in a war surplus store.
Uh-huh. And look at this, though. The bottom of the bag.
Oh, yes. I noticed that. Damp from blood seepage.
It's more than blood. Whoever carted this bag around with the body in it must have set it down someplace to rest. A little earth clung to it. Some of it off between your fingers.
Fine grain. Gritty.
Feel like beach sand?
Yeah, it does. Hey,
what?
Just thinking of the train schedule. The body couldn't have been put on until after the murder, say after 6 o'clock. Train made 3 stops between then and the time it pulled into the yard.
Any of those stops on the coast?
Only one. A watering stop near Lobster Bay. Fishing village and a resort center. Lots of people pouring in and out of there this time of the year. If we only knew who she was. If only there was a laundry mark.
Well, there's one thing we've got.
What?
Her shoes.
Cheap make. Could have come from 1,000 stores all over the country.
Yes, but these were repaired recently. If we could find the shoemaker who'll fix them, he might recognize his work. We'll take these with us. Leave the rest for the lab.
What's our first move?
Lobster Bay. And the lab boys prepare a photo of her. Maybe we can get on identification.
Well, that's that, Chief. Want to try that seashell woman the last guy told us about? You know, the one who goes around peddling those handmade necklaces?
I think we'd better. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, what?
Looks like we're running in luck for a change. Look, across the street there. Table by the window of that seafood place.
Yeah, that's her all right. She looks like Father Neptune's mother.
She sure does.
Let's go.
Hello. Mind if we sit here?
You want to buy a necklace? Your loved one will hear the whispering of the sea, the secrets of life, for $1.
I'm afraid we are more interested in the secrets of death. The girl's death. Show the photograph, Harrington.
Yeah, right. You ever see this girl before?
Well, did you? It's important. She's been murdered.
Oh, she should have bought a necklace. The sea would have warned her.
Then you have seen her?
Yes, once.
Where?
At the bus station. With a man.
Do you know who the man was?
No.
What took you so long to make up your mind? Did you know him or didn't you?
No.
Can you describe him for us?
Neither light nor dark, neither tall nor short. Part of the sea of humanity. Like any other part.
Thanks.
Buy a necklace. Each shell has 1,000 ears.
But none of them has a mouth. Come on, Harrington.
I think she was lying about knowing the man, Chief.
And so do I.
What?
If the man she saw was the killer, and she knew him, he might pay her to forget it.
If you're right, she'll try to contact the man we're looking for.
I want you to follow her, Harrington. The beach. Wherever she goes, day and night. I'll do some more checking around town. You can check me at the hotel.
Right.
And walk up the street with me a bit. Then pick a doorway for a stakeout.
Hey.
What?
I just saw a girl go into the realtor's office up there. Looked like Miss Miller.
Well, what would she be doing in Lobster Bay unless the lab came up with...
Yeah, she just came out again. It is her.
It must be lab information, then. You stop here, I'll catch her. Oh, Miss Miller! Miss Miller!
Oh, there you are. I've been looking all over for you, Mr. Garrett. The hotel said you... Where's Harrington going?
Well, we've got somebody under surveillance. I'll explain later. What have you got for us?
Reports from the lab. Those stitches used to sew the victim into the duffel bag.
Yes?
Morgan says they're the kind of stitches used by seamen to mend torn sails.
Oh, most sailing vessels are pleasure craft these days. It fits in with a resort town like this. The girl is still a mystery. She wasn't a local resident.
She may come from Sheffield.
Well, what makes you think so?
Morgan found a bus ticket in the small pocket of her dress. It was a ticket from Lobster Bay to Sheffield.
Well, that fits with the story we got about the murdered woman being seen at the bus depot here. She might have been buying a ticket to go home.
The population of Sheffield's over 100,000. Her identity might not be easy to trace, unless you give her photo to the Sheffield newspapers.
I want to avoid that for a while if I can. And I've got something else I can use in tracing her. A pair of shoes.
You want me to go back to the city?
No, you go to the hotel and wait for a call from Harrington. You'll have to be our message center.
Yes, sir. Where will you be?
In Sheffield, checking shoe repair shops.
I want to know if I ever see these shoes before. That's right?
Yes, you're the fifth place in Sheffield. I've tried.
Why you want to know?
It's police business. Here are my credentials.
Oh, you're the district attorney, eh? I vote for you, you know that?
Oh, thank you very much. How about the shoes?
Un momento. Hey, Angelo, turn off the machine, huh? That's better. Yeah. I fixed these all right. See, here's the way I sort of broken the strap. I remember for something else, too. I never get paid for the job.
Well, who owns the shoes?
Mrs. Watson. She lives 2 blocks up at the street, Brown Wood House.
Mrs. Watson, hmm? Her husband around?
No. He's gone away 1 month.
Ever hear anybody say where the husband went?
Who knows? He's a go all the time. Sometimes to work someplace in the factories. Sometimes to work with the fishing boats.
You mean he's been a seaman?
Sometimes. A little bit of everything. Say, what do you ask me all of these things? How come you got the shoes?
Because Mrs. Watson doesn't need them anymore. She's dead.
Dead? Mamma mia.
You said the house was 2 blocks up the street, brown wooden frame?
See. Mrs. Watson's a mama, does she know?
I'm afraid not.
But you got to tell her, huh?
It's part of my job.
What's going to happen to the poor bambino? The old lady, she's too old to take care of a smaller baby all the time. Too old and too poor. Maybe not if I'd come home and take care, huh?
I hope he can.
Zona bambino. What's going to stop him unless he's in some kind of trouble? Is he in trouble?
That depends whether or not he sewed up the top of a certain duffel bag. Thanks for your help, Mr. Skinelli.
Oh, sure thing.
Split up a month ago. Wasn't the first time. Then last week her husband wrote to her from Lobster Bay. Said he was sorry. Wanted my daughter, Helen, to come and meet him. I thought she was there with him.
It seems that she was, for a while. Can you give me your son-in-law's full name and description?
Herbert Watson's his name. But they call him Bud.
Herbert Bud Watson. How tall would you say? Somebody at the door. You want me to answer it?
Oh, what? I'll call out the window and send him away. I don't want to see anybody now.
What's the matter? What is it?
Come on, somebody, open the door.
It's my son-in-law, Bud.
Looks like he's saving us a lot of trouble. Better open the door, ma'am, and let him in. This is David Bryan. Before we continue with Mr. District Attorney in the case of the body on the freight train, here is an important message from our sponsor.
And now back to David Bryan, starring as Paul Garrett, Mr. District Attorney.
The body of a young woman, a murder victim, had been found aboard a freight train. The search for her identity led to a seaside resort and then to a town inland where facts began to indicate that her estranged husband was the killer. I was getting the husband's description from the dead woman's mother when the husband suddenly appeared at the house seeking entrance.
Hey, come on, somebody, open up!
What should I do? What did he come back here for?
That's something we'll find out when you let him in. I'll step behind the door. You open it. All right. Let him in.
Well, it's about time. What took you so long? Where's Helen?
You know where she is. What did you do to her? What did you do to my girl?
Crazy? What are you trying to do? What's the matter?
Here, that's enough. Stop that.
Hey, who are you? What's going on here?
I'm the district attorney. Just stand back against the wall and keep your hands up where I can see them.
You killed her. And now you have the gall to come back here.
What are you talking about? You... Mom, where's Helen? Where is she?
Don't you know, Watson? Or did you think she'd never be identified?
Helen's been murdered? Oh, no, I don't believe you.
Stop pretending. You did it. You know you did.
No, Mom, I swear. Look, I gave her money. I told her to come back home, and I'd meet her here today. We were going to take the baby and go to some other town, make a fresh start.
How much money did you give your wife?
$400.
Well, that's a lot, all right. Where did you get it? Come on.
Lobster Bay.
How?
Shaking down tourists who were fishing without a license. I pretended to be a game warden. Worked the same thing once before 2 years ago. You know.
Who else knew? Rosie? The old woman who sold the shell necklace?
Yeah, she knew all right. She hadn't. I'd have had more money. I had to pay her off.
The same way you paid her off to keep her quiet after you killed your wife?
I tell you, I didn't kill her. If Rosie says I did, she's a liar.
She hasn't said anything yet. But we're going back to Lobster Bay. Maybe seeing you in custody will loosen her tongue a little. Start moving. Harrington.
I'm here, Chief. Yeah, how'd you know I was down here on the pier?
Miss Miller told me she'd seen you and Rosie from the hotel window just before dark, walking down here toward the pier. Well, where is Rosie?
Why, that's her, out there on the beach with the flashlight. Seems like this is her hour for picking up shells. Oh, who that you got in the car?
Bud Watson. I identified the murdered girl. He's her husband.
Is he clean?
I don't know. He was working a shakedown racket on the fisherman here. Rosie was cutting herself in for a payoff. I want to see what happens when I bring them together. Come on, Watson. Out of the car. This way.
Well, what are we going out on the beach for?
Just visiting an old friend of yours.
Go away. Go away, you men. Now get off my beach with your shoes on. You crushed the shell.
Take it easy, Rosie.
Why do you follow me? All day you've been following me.
Light your flashlight, Harrington.
Right.
I want you to look at this man, Rosie. You ever seen him before?
No, she's seen me before.
He didn't ask you. Well, how about it, Rosie?
Yes.
All right. Now tell us. Is he the same man you saw at the bus depot with the girl whose photograph I showed you?
Yes. Same man.
At the bus depot? But she's lying. I was never with Helen at the bus depot.
You hear that, Rosie? That means one of you is lying.
Well, I'm not lying.
No, you old hag. What are you trying to do?
Oh, you don't get to take it easy.
You own a knife, Watson?
Yeah, but I never used it.
I didn't ask you that. Where is it?
With my things, where I've been staying. A shack I rent about a quarter of a mile up the beach past the end of the boardwalk. I'll show you.
We'll find it. You've been walking around loose long enough. We'll have a look at your place after we get you behind bars in the local jail.
Go and do, mister, so make it easy on yourself. All right. Start walking. Nothing in this bureau, Chief.
Yeah, the footlocker here. Hinges are rusted from the salt air. Help me open it.
Yeah. You know something? I can't figure why Watson won't admit it if he was at the bus station with his wife. That wouldn't hurt him.
No, it wouldn't. That's why I think he's telling the truth.
And Rosie must be covering up for something.
Chris, top of the locker's coming.
Just a bunch of junk. Well, that old fish knife is the only one in the place. And that's not the weapon. It's so rusted it's ready to fall apart.
Yeah.
That Rosie is such a screwball. I should have stayed with her.
Too late for that now. If she's collecting anything, she...
Mr. Garrett?
That's Miss Miller, Chief.
Oh, Mr. Garrett.
Miss Miller, what's wrong?
It's Rosie, the necklace woman. There's a crowd down the beach with torches.
What's happened to her?
She's been murdered. They said that somebody cut her throat.
Let's get out there, Harrington.
Hey, Chief, can't we slow down for a little?
Gotta keep going. Oh, people who found the body saw a man running up the beach this way.
Well, he had at least a 10-minute start, though. Hey, what's that? Up ahead.
Looks like an abandoned fisherman's shack.
Man we're after might be in there.
Better get ready to take him. Got your gun ready?
Yeah. Now, stand aside while I kick the door open there. Nobody here.
Is that a lamp hanging there?
Yeah, light it. Yeah. Pretty clean place for a shack like this.
Yes, too clean. Floor's been scrubbed recently. Scrubbed hard.
You mean in case there might have been any blood around?
Mrs. Watson might have been killed in a place like this. And there are two other things.
What?
Whoever was living here was mighty handy with a knife. Look at the inside of the door. Circle drawn on the wood. The wood is full of deep gouges where somebody practiced throwing a knife.
Yeah. Good aim, too. All the marks inside the circle.
Yeah, take a look at that cord. The one that's suspending the lamp you lit.
Hey, that's a seaman's knife.
Yes, and the cord itself is just about big enough to be the draw cord from a duffel bag. The seaman we've been looking for was here, all right.
And it couldn't have been Watson, Chief. Rosie was alive when we jailed him. You think it might have been an old shipmate of his?
Let's go ask him if he remembers one who was handy with a knife.
Sure, Helen knew shipmates of mine. Dozens of them I introduced her to at one time or another.
The one we won had a habit of throwing a knife.
Drew targets on a door, never missed. Matt Corbett. It was Matt Corbett.
How do you know? Any reason for him being around here?
Yeah. He was my partner in the shakedown racket 2 years ago. Neither of us come back last year because he was in some kind of trouble with the law, but... Well, this year I wrote to him and asked him to meet me here again, but he never even answered my letter. He used to be my best friend. Oh, that's...
Never mind that now. Where would he run for a hideout?
I don't know. He was always roaming like me.
You said you'd written to him someplace. You must have had an address.
Yeah, it was. Care general delivery at Port O'Connor. It's an old bait house by the docks there. He lived in it whenever he had enough money to stop moving for a while.
And he's got enough now. What he got when he robbed and murdered your wife. I'll arrange for your release as soon as we pick him up. Come on, Harrington. Open up and let us out, jailer.
There's nobody inside, Chief. I can see through the window. He isn't here. You going to stake out and wait?
Yes. Our car's out of sight where we left it. He won't spot it coming along the wharf.
Well, that's a break. The door isn't locked.
Fine. We can wait inside.
Hey, this Corbett's the guy we're after, all right. Look, same trademarks we found in that beach shack last night.
Yes. Knife mark from the circle on the door. Running bowling on the lamp cord.
Now what?
Sit and wait. Harrington, wake up.
What?
Somebody's coming along the wharf.
Oh. Dark out. What time is it?
Almost midnight.
It's coming closer.
It must be Corbett. Nothing to bring anybody else down here at this time of night.
Heading this way, all right.
I can get all the way inside before we jump him. And remember, he's got a knife and he's handy with it.
I know.
We won't need a lamp, Corbett.
What? And I keep... Flashlight, Chief.
Can you handle him?
I got him. Stop struggling, Corbett.
You...
No! My arm. You broke my arm. Oh, I just wrenched your shoulder. Oh. Keep from throwing knives for a while. Come on, get up. Oh. We could use that lamp now, Chief.
Now, light it. Good thing you tackled them when you did. I felt that knife whizzing past my ear. Look, buried in the wall, a good inch.
What are you guys looking for here? What are you, a couple of crooks?
Not that you don't know better than that, but just to make it official, I'm the district attorney, and we just dropped in to place you under arrest for the murder of Helen Watson and old Rosie up at Lobster Bay.
You what? You killed a friend. You want to cuff him, Chief?
No, Harrington. I can see by the expression in Mr. Corbett's eyes that you've convinced him of the folly of resisting when he no longer holds a knife. Our car is about 2 blocks past the wharf, Mr. Corbett. May we offer you a lift into the city? This is David Bryan again. I hope you've enjoyed this case from the file of Mr. District Attorney. I'll be back in just a moment after this message from our sponsor.
The star of Mr. District Attorney, David Bryan, with a word about the program you have just heard.
Blood traces on the knife of Matt Corbett definitely linked into the murder of Rosie McMichaels, the necklace woman. Confronted with proof of his guilt, he broke down and confessed to her murder and the murder of Mrs. Watson. He is now awaiting execution. Bud Watson was convicted on a charge of extortion but was placed on probation. Now, this is David Bryan inviting you to join us when we present our next case based on the facts of crime from the files of Mr. District Attorney.
Mr. District Attorney was originated by Phillips H. Lord.
Now, in cooperation with police and federal law enforcement departments throughout the United States, the only national program that brings you authentic police case history. Gangbusters.
Tonight, the case of the safe-cracking Combine, whose leader ruled the gang by brute force, but who couldn't subdue a trouser cuff nor a washed-out blonde.
And now to Gangbusters and facts that show the operation of our law enforcement officials in their war against the underworld. Gangbusters has asked Jack Harville, Chief of Detectives, Detroit, Michigan Police Department, to narrate by proxy tonight's case.
The inside facts in the case of the safe-cracking Combine.
Chief Harville, a few minutes ago, you told me that one of the biggest problems of police is organized crime.
That's exactly so, Don Gardner. When criminals band together for the purpose of large-scale operations, the job of the police becomes so much harder. You'll see what I mean in tonight's Gangbusters case. About 2 years ago, in the city of Detroit, we had numerous complaints of safe burglaries on the west and north sides of the city. Despite efforts of dozens of detectives, we weren't making too much progress in the investigation, partly because of an event which took place in a certain house on the north side one night. In the kitchen of that house, a short but powerfully built man sat playing solitaire. As the door to the living room opened and another man approached, he looked up from the cards.
Well?
Okay, Patch. He's here.
Comfortable, Steve?
How comfortable can he get?
And we let him squirm a while.
Ah, come on, Patch. Let's get it over with, huh?
Let him squirm.
Look, I promised to take Effie to a party tonight. She's going to have... the red jack goes on the queen there.
I see it.
Effie's cousin's got a birthday.
So what do you want me to do, Steve? Give a present?
Ah, but come on, Patch. Let's get it over with, huh?
Well... I guess Corny Mike squirmed enough, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Let's go.
Hey, tell him, Patch. Tell him good, huh?
Don't worry, I will. Hello, Mike. Glad you could make it.
What goes, Patch?
This won't take long. I got a few things on my mind.
I come to do some talking myself.
First, you listen.
Look, Batch, what's the idea of getting me down
you'll
here?
listen, Mike, so you'll listen.
Steve.
Thought we made a bargain, Mike. I thought there wasn't going to be another safe job on the north or west side without my say-so.
What are you talking about?
What do you think, Mike? You broke into that joint without his say-so.
What are you, a cop? Can you prove it?
What I said goes. No more safe jobs around here without my okay.
Let go.
You want to settle it right here, Mike?
Batch, he asked, you want to settle it right here?
Listen, Batch.
Let go. Please.
I'm listening.
Okay, I did that job. Me and the Sherlock brothers.
You can have your 20%. I'll pay it off right now,
We're going to collect more than 20%.
Steve.
I'll pay it off. I'll pay it.
Okay. But I'm warning all of you, Mike. This outfit operates the way I say. No safe jobs without my okay. If anybody thinks they can get away with tricks, I'll come down and beat their head to paste. Personal. All right. Get out of here.
You heard him. He said, get out. Go on.
Okay, I'm going.
Let's stop and get something to eat. Waffles, maybe?
For crying out loud, Effie, didn't you have enough to eat at the party?
I'm hungry again.
Well, that's late.
Please?
Where do you want to go?
How about the top hat? It's not far.
Okay.
Steve? You were telling me about Batch.
Now, look, Effie, I'm telling you again. I told you all I could tell you.
Okay. Batch is getting to be a pretty big shot, huh?
You said it. Biggest this town's ever seen.
I don't know. I've seen bigger.
Yeah, well, show me a guy's ever organized things the way he has. Nobody even cracks a safe without his say-so.
You mean even Corny Mike said he'd go along with Batch? He'd let Batch be the boss? I don't believe it.
Corny Mike ain't so tough. Not if you know how to handle him. There's going to be some dough in this deal,
Yeah,
too.
for Batch.
Yeah, I'll get my share.
Maybe. If Batch can handle Corny Mike and the rest.
Don't you worry about Batch. He's slick with them guys, and he's tough. They're scared to death of him. He'll get his, don't you worry.
Must be some operator, all right.
Yeah, you take... Look, Evie, forget I told you anything about what was going on.
Oh, don't worry about me, Steve. I wouldn't say a word, not to nobody.
That's a smart kid. Don't you worry, baby. You'll get taken care of. Anything you want. Just ask. Just ask and you'll get.
Thanks, Steve. I knew I could depend on you. And Batch.
I'm telling you, Inspector Ma, these safe robberies have got to stop. 23 safe robberies in 6 weeks. It's ridiculous.
I can assure you, Mr. Edwards, we're doing everything we possibly can.
Apparently, it's not enough, Inspector. And as a representative of the Northside Merchants Association, I feel...
Mr. Edwards, would you be surprised if I told you we think we know the men responsible for those burglaries?
You do?
I said we think we do. There are 10 or 12 men involved. We're sure of that. We've had some of them down here for questioning on occasion.
But those men should be in the penitentiary.
Mr. Edwards, I could be dead sure they're the ones, but my being sure is not enough. In order to convict a man of burglary, we either have to catch him in the act, or find some of the stolen property in his possession, or have a confession. And none of these men are confessing to anything.
Well, then why don't you arrest these men now? They're bound to have the money on them from that robbery last night.
Mr. Edwards, if these men broke into your furniture store and took some cash from your safe, could you pick out your own bills or coins and swear that they were yours?
Well,
neither could any other victim. When only cash is taken, and the burglars are careful to leave no fingerprints or other evidence at the scene of the crime, a burglary conviction is almost impossible.
Well, I suppose you'll have a pretty difficult job.
We have, Mr. Edwards.
Well, thanks a lot, Inspector Ma.
Excuse me. Yes?
Detective LeFew, Inspector. Can I see you?
Come right in, LeFew. Mr. Edwards just leaving.
Yes, sir.
I hope you understand our problems a little better, Mr. Edwards.
I think I do. Well, you know where to reach me.
Goodbye.
Oh, excuse me.
Sure.
Come in, LeFew.
Well, Inspector, we had men in back of Corny Mike all last night. Did make a move out of his house.
How about the Scheller brothers?
Lost them in traffic. It could have been them, or even Batch. We didn't have him under surveillance either.
All right, LeFew. Stick with as many of them as you can. The only way we'll get these boys is to catch some of them in the act. Then maybe we'll get a statement involving the others.
Hello.
Let me talk to Batch.
Just a minute, I'll get him. He's in the kitchen with a friend. Hey, who is this, Effie?
No, it is not Effie.
Oh. Okay, hold the phone. I'll see if it's talking.
That's the way it's going to be, man. If you don't like... What?
Telephone.
What do they want?
It's for you. Personal.
I'll be right back, Mike.
Take your time.
Steve, stay here with Mike.
It's a dame, Batch.
So it's a dame. I'll be right back. Hello.
Hello, Batch. Effie.
I'm busy.
I just wanted to tell you, Steve...
Now, look here, Effie. I'm tired of this monkey business. Stop bothering me, will you?
Batch, I just want to be friends.
Be friends with Steve. That's enough. Leave me alone.
Batch, you and me could really...
I got no time to talk about it. Dumb twist. Mess things up.
So you and Batch know what you can...
Now, Mike, you going to get through with it?
Look, Batch. Batch. That was Effie on the phone.
You're crazy.
It was. I know her voice.
You mean you think you do? It wasn't Effie.
Okay. Wasn't Effie.
Well, Mike?
We can get in the safe all right. We can get the dough. We can get out all right.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
But this whole thing was my idea. I found a joint. I cased it. I worked out the angles.
So?
So I don't feel you're entitled to any 20%.
Don't you?
Batch said he wants 20%.
Not for sitting on a throne like a king, you don't get no 20%.
I don't figure on sitting on a throne like a king. This time, Steve and I are going along.
So, Don, the criminal Stanley Greylack, known as Batch, and his henchmen, Mike Kornichuk and Steve Constantine, conspired to stage still another safe burglary on Detroit's north side. But they had no idea of how close detectives under Inspector James Marr were to the evidence they sought.
Now back to Gangbusters. You were telling us, Chief Harville, how the gang of safecrackers under the direction of Stanley Greylack, alias Batch, had planned still another safe burglary on the north side of Detroit.
That's right, Don. They knew the doors and windows of the furniture store they intended to loot were protected by a burglar alarm. They also knew the occupants of an apartment on the second floor of the building were out of town. After the criminals gained entrance to this residence by picking a lock, they cut a hole in the floor leading to the private office of the owner of the furniture store. After nearly 2 hours of quiet work, they were about ready to scramble through the opening and crack the safe.
Okay. That's got it.
Yeah, right. Plaster.
Mike.
Yeah?
Get the ladder.
Hey, fellas.
Watch it. Watch it.
Okay, put it through.
Easy now, easy. Yeah. Okay, that's got it. Go on, Steve. You first.
Right. That safe is as tough as cutting a hole. This is going to be an all-night job.
Plaster. Oh, go on. Get down there.
Okay. I'm getting. Hey, nice office. Awful pretty. Hey, how'd you like a fountain pen, boss?
Leave those lay there.
Okay.
Get picked up with one of them on you, we're all in trouble.
Bring it there again.
Mike.
Yeah?
Bring the stuff.
All right. Bring the stuff, fellas.
Okay.
Take a look around the main office.
Yeah.
Watch yourself.
Hey, this door's locked.
Let me see that thing. Yeah, just snap lock.
Oh, yeah.
Open it up.
Yeah, sure.
Good. They can't see nothing from the street.
And there's the safe.
Mike, you coming?
Can't do it without me.
Let's go.
Now, watch it in here. There's a trap wire in front of the safe.
Careful, Steve. Trap wire.
Trap wire, yeah, I'm careful.
It's around someplace.
Okay, see it over there. Yeah, there it is. Oh!
Now, you walk right into it. Okay, we don't have time for fights back in the office. Come on. Inside. Yeah. The door. Is it locked? Yeah. Right, let's get out of here, huh? Up the ladder. Come on. Up the ladder. Hold it. Stay away from that ladder.
What for? They'll nab us, sure.
Yeah. And they'll nab us quicker on the street if we get out. We stay right here.
Oh, no.
We stay right here. The doors and windows are all okay. They won't see nothing. We might get away with it.
All right, Patch. You got a customer. All right, Patch, but keep your fingers crossed, boys.
Doesn't look like there's much to it, Inspector. Yep. 2 squad cars are here within a minute after the call came over. They looked around. None of the doors or windows were touched. It's probably short in the system.
Get a look inside?
We're going to. The owner's opening up now. Just got here.
Good.
Oh, by the way, this is the furniture store your friend Mr. Edwards owns.
Oh, so it is. Hello there, Mr. Edwards.
Oh, hello, Inspector. Is there a chance somebody might be inside?
There's a chance.
I'll open up.
There are patrolmen all around the building with you?
It's covered.
I hope it's a false alarm. There's a step there watching the dock.
Yeah, I see it.
Now, where's the safe? That's what they'd be after.
Back there in the office.
Nightlight's on back there.
Oh, yes. We always have a nightlight. Insurance company rules, you know.
Nothing looks disturbed.
The safe hasn't... Uh-oh. The trap wire's down.
Yeah. Might have fallen down. Doesn't take much.
What's in here, Mr. Edwards?
Oh, this is my private office. I keep it locked.
So I see. Would you mind opening up? I'd like to look around.
Yes, of course. I think I have the key. Yes. Here it is.
Inspector Barnes.
Yes?
I think I found your burglar. Come here.
What'd you find, LeFew?
Could this be your guilty party?
She certainly could.
You mean the cat could set off the trap wire?
Easily.
All it takes is the slightest touch. Contact's made, and that's it.
Wonder the cat hasn't given you this kind of trouble before, Mr. Edwards.
Well, we only just got the cat yesterday. I'm beginning to have trouble with mice, you know.
You'll take my advice, Mr. Edwards. Either get a new system for catching mice or a new system for protecting your safe. Otherwise, you'll be down here 2 or 3 times a week answering that burglar alarm.
I suppose we'll try mouse traps.
Run along, kitten. You've caused enough trouble for one night.
Come on, LeFew. Let's go.
Right.
Good night, Mr. Edwards.
Just a second. I'm coming, too.
Oh, believe me, Patch, I never want another one like that. Boy, that was as close as I ever wanted.
We got away, didn't we?
Did we? Boy, I can't believe it yet.
Now, look, Steve. The same thing I told Mike and the other boys goes for you. As soon as you get home, take those clothes and wash them out good.
But, Patch, these pants are wool. They shrink up to my knees.
Then get rid of them altogether. Burn them.
What are you worried about?
I'm worried about one of us getting picked up. Cutting through all that plaster was more of a mess than I counted on.
So I brush off the paint.
You'll wash them or burn them like I said. The cops decide to pick you up. That plaster will put you inside the furniture store for sure.
Okay, whatever you say. Look, how about stopping for a drink, huh? I could use one right now.
I got no time.
What's one drink?
I said I got no time. Gotta meet somebody, and I'm late.
Oh, yeah? Who?
Somebody you don't know.
Oh, somebody I don't know. Okay.
Go on home and get some sleep. You need it.
Morning, Steve.
Where you been, Effie? All night.
Didn't expect you'd be up yet.
Who went to sleep? Where you been, huh? I tried calling every place, so I come to wait for you.
Why?
Why do you think? I want to talk to you, that's why.
Well, I knew you'd be busy on the job practically all night. I stayed at my cousin's.
Huh.
What does that mean, hey?
Huh.
Okay.
Batch tell you what happened on the job?
Batch, I didn't see Batch.
No, you saw your cousin. Now, Effie, I swear, if I ever catch you with another guy, I'm going to kick your pussy.
You'll never catch me.
Were you with Batch or what?
I wasn't.
Tell me the truth, were you?
Steve, don't.
Were you?
Don't.
Were you?
No, I...
Good thing you weren't.
I was at my cousin's, you can call her.
Don't worry, I will, too.
Haven't even seen Batch.
You talked to him on the phone, didn't you?
Me?
Yeah, you. The other night when I answered, didn't you?
No, that wasn't me, I swear.
Tells me to get the plaster out of my clothes, and then he runs around with you. Who's that?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I know.
Steve!
Now, look here, Betch.
Hello, Steve. Going someplace?
Yeah, policeman. I guess I am.
You bet you are. For a ride downtown. Okay, back inside.
All right, okay. Just take it easy.
I don't know, Patch. Maybe they're getting close.
Don't worry about it, Mike. Steve will be out in an hour. Finish your drink.
Uh-oh. You got company.
Hello, Batch.
Get out of here, Effie.
Hello, Effie.
They picked Steve up.
So what do you want me to do?
I just come to tip you off.
Why are you acting like this is the first time he was ever questioned?
He'll be out in a couple of hours. They got nothing to hold him on.
What's the matter, Batch? Why can't we be friends?
We are friends. Let's leave it at that.
You know what I mean.
Sure, I know what you mean. Let me tell you something, baby. I learned a long time ago not to let dames interfere with business. Especially other guys' dames. Now walk out of here before somebody has to carry you out.
Okay, Batch. That's the way you want it.
That's the way I want it. Scram.
Detective Bureau, a few talking.
Inspector Marr.
Yes, sir?
I want you to bring Steve Constantine to my office right away for questioning.
Oh? Did you get a report back?
You bet we did, and I think it's just the thing that's going to break this case wide open.
Now, back to Gangbusters.
Where'd you say you got these pants, Steve?
I borrowed them from a guy named Graham, I told you. Johnny Graham.
Before you said it was Joe Graham.
Joe Graham, Johnny Graham, what's the difference?
How come they fit you so well?
We're the same size, Joe and me.
Where's Joe Graham live?
In Jackson. He's from Jackson.
Where in Jackson?
Well, in Jackson. How should I know?
When did you borrow them?
Yesterday. Just yesterday. Joe come over and he wanted me to do some work in the garage, so he had an extra pair of pants, and I put them on. We done the work.
In the garage?
Yeah, in the garage. We clean out some stuff and put sawdust down where the oil leaks, and, well, you know, all that kind of thing. So I says to Joe, Joe, this is some job, and he says he never expected it. Well, after we finished in the garage, we sat down for lunch, and then...
Yesterday, huh?
Sure, yesterday.
Right after you borrowed the pants.
Well, not right after, maybe an hour.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Your cleaner said those are your pants. He had them cleaned there 3 times. He showed me the marks.
Okay, so they're my pants.
And you wore them breaking into that furniture store last night.
I did not.
You didn't wear the pants?
I didn't break into no furniture store.
You ever see one of these, Chief?
I don't want to look at nothing. I want out of here.
It's a laboratory report. Particles of plaster were taken from the cuffs of those pants. They were identical with the plaster that came down when you cut a hole in the ceiling of that furniture store.
Oh, you kidding. Plaster's plaster.
Oh, come on, Steve. You know this report definitely put you inside that furniture store. This is evidence, the best. Could send you away for 10 years.
Well, Steve, you might as well tell us all about it.
I wasn't near no furniture store.
Yeah, Steve, you're on your way. Maybe you can do yourself some good by opening up.
I ain't opening up for nobody. You can give me 30 years, and I ain't opening up.
Who was with you? Batch? Corny Mike?
A couple of guys I never seen before. Strangers. Met 'em walking down the street. As a matter of fact, it was this Joe Graham. That's who it was. It's Joe Graham.
It was Batch, wasn't it?
Let me alone, will you?
Steve.
What?
Ever heard of a girl named Effie?
No.
No. Well, that's funny. She and your friend Batch have been spending a lot of time together.
Is that so?
They were in a bar together a little while ago having a great time.
What bar? You're lying.
Now, why should I lie, Steve? It doesn't mean a thing to me. That's just what the detective we've got on Batch reported.
Effie's your girl, isn't she, Steve?
Okay, so she's my girl.
You're going away to the penitentiary and going to leave her all to Batch.
Maybe they know you're hooked. Maybe that's what they're celebrating.
Let me out of here, will you?
Open up, Steve. You can take Batch along with you.
Come on, let's have it.
32-timers, the both of them.
He was with you, wasn't he, Steve?
Yeah, he was with me. Well, what are you waiting for? Get your stenographer in here. Get him in here. I'll tell you enough to clear 50 safe brackets. Get the guy in here. Get him. Batch. You want to know about Batch?
Yeah, Steve. About all of them. Let's start from the beginning.
Well, Pat, welcome to the country club.
Take it easy. Keep your mouth shut. We'll be out in the street in an hour.
Okay, Batch, this is your cell.
Much obliged. Hi, Mike.
Come in, Batch. We need another hand for the stud kid.
Copper, don't lose that key. You'll be needing it in a few minutes. We got Ritz working it.
Now, don't kid yourself, Batch. This time you're hooked. Steve opened up.
You're lying, Copper.
Am I? You'll see what he has to say as soon as we get you upstairs. Well, make yourself comfortable.
So done. 8 arrests simultaneously at 4 o'clock in the morning brought to an end this troublesome gang of safecrackers. They're all now serving long terms in the Michigan State Penitentiary.
Well, thank you, Chief of Detectives Jack Harville, Detroit Police Department, for the inside facts in this case history. And congratulations to members of the Detroit Detective Bureau who successfully concluded this difficult investigation. Tonight's case was dramatized by Stanley Niss and directed by William Sweets, with Arthur Vinton, Elspeth Eric, and Walter Vaughn in leading roles. Don Gardner speaking. Gangbusters is a Phillips H. Lord production.
Proudly we hail. From New York City, where the American stage begins, here is another program with a cast of outstanding players. Public service time has been made available by this station for your Army and your Air Force to bring you this story, as proudly we hail Thomas Edison. Our story is entitled Man of Genius, a true story about Thomas Edison. Our first act curtain will rise in just a moment, but first...
Here's a word to the young women high school graduates of 52. Love and loyalty to one's country have never been the exclusive attributes of men. Women, too, have shown evidence of their devotion and courage. Now, more than ever before, the United States Army and United States Air Force needs young women. Go to your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station. Have a talk with the recruiting sergeant. Find out how you can best serve your country and yourself. Volunteer for service in the WASP, Women's Army Corps, or WASP, Women in the Air Force, today.
And now your Army and your Air Force present the Proudly We Hail production, Man of Genius. I'll bet that Thomas Edison had something to do with your life today. How? In at least a dozen ways. For one thing, you wouldn't be getting the clear reception on your radio right this second if it hadn't been for him. Or if there's a light burning in your house this minute, how about a second thanks for Edison? Our story starts in the year 1856 in the home of Thomas Edison. Many people knew this great American, but no one as well as his mother. Let's imagine that she is telling his story.
I'm Thomas Edison's mother. Never could bring myself to call him Tom. You see, when he was born, I had quite a fight on my hands to name him Thomas. I wanted to name him after that great saint. You remember the one who doubted at first and then received great faith. As it turned out, my Thomas, was a lot like that. He had doubts about himself and doubts about what he could do. But as he grew older, his doubts were replaced by faith in what could be accomplished for mankind. They say that Thomas is a genius. I guess every mother thinks that about her son. But when Thomas was just a small boy, we'd moved from Milan, Ohio, to Port Huron, Michigan. There was a teacher who thought anything but that. Thomas told me the story and what the teacher had done.
Thomas Edison. I've been talking to you for 5 minutes.
What? Oh. Excuse me, I must have been dreaming.
Dreaming? Your father doesn't send you to school to dream. Now stand up and recite your lesson.
can't remember how it starts.
You can't remember? Thomas Edison, you can't remember anything from 1 minute to the next. Well, you just gather up your books and go home. And you can tell your father for me that you're plumb addled. You're not worth keeping in school.
Miss Armbruster?
Oh, you startled me.
Perhaps it's time something startled you. I'm Thomas Edison's mother.
Well, I'm very pleased to meet you.
You won't be when you hear what I've got to say.
But if you think I was too harsh with Thomas...
You don't deserve to be a teacher. You're given an opportunity that very few people in the world have to work with a child and help shape his destiny. Today you did everything you possibly could to break a child's spirit.
Mrs. Edison, I don't think you have the right to talk to me that way. Thomas sits here and dreams. He doesn't pay the slightest attention to what I'm saying.
Have they instructed you to tell children they're addled, that they aren't worth keeping in school?
But if all the children acted the way Thomas does, looking out the window and dreaming and never knowing his recitations, what kind of a school would I have?
I think I know what kind of a school you have right now. You say Thomas isn't worth keeping in school. Well, I say he's worth much too much to keep him in school. I teach him myself at home. You practically destroyed the boy's faith in himself. But I'll restore it.
Where's Tom?
Down in the cellar as usual, working on some experiments.
I don't know. It's a good thing, I suppose, that the boy's interested in chemistry, but it seems to me he spends an awful lot of time down in that shop of his.
You don't know how much it means to me to have Thomas interested in learning. Well, it's been months getting that love instilled in him.
Well, that's all very well, and I'm proud of both of you. But, my dear, this hobby of Tom's is getting to be a pretty expensive thing.
But it's worth it, isn't it?
Well, maybe so. But my grain business isn't bringing in enough to equip a laboratory the size Tom seems to want. Let's see if it's worth enough to him to get a job to support his experiments.
Back a minute.
Oh, sure, Tom. What is it?
Pop, I want to quit.
Well, what's the matter? Hoeing potatoes too hard on you? I told your mother you'd have to earn your own money for your experiments, and I meant it. But if you don't want to work...
Oh, it's not that I don't want to work, Pop. But there isn't any money, real money, in hoeing potatoes.
It seems to me what you're making's a good bit for a lad your age. Now, when I was a boy...
I know, Pop. But I've heard about something better, and I'd like to do it. I went up and talked to the station master today and asked him if I could sell a Detroit Free Press on the trains running between here and Detroit. He didn't like the idea very much at first, but I talked to him anyway. Can I do it?
Son, I don't know what your mother will think about you gallivanting back and forth in those fast trains all day long.
Well, you talk to her, Pop. I know she'll let me do it if you tell her you think it's a good thing.
You ought to be quite a salesman, Tom. All right. I'll talk to your mother. But I've known her a great deal longer than you have. And there are times when it's pretty hard to convince her.
Hello, Edison.
Hi, hello, Mark. I'm just waiting here for Tom. You see him on the train?
See him on the train? I certainly did, yes, indeed. He sold me a paper I already had a copy of. Talked me into buying this box of candy for Myra. Oh, you sure have-handed that son of yours.
Yes, he's got a real business head, all right.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's hired 3 other boys to ride on the other trains and sell everything from fancy vegetables he picks up in Detroit to fresh butter from here in Port Huron.
Hi, Pop.
Oh, hi, Tom.
I haven't been waiting too long. I had to check up on my sale.
Now, we better get going, Tom. Your mother will have supper waiting.
Pop, I had the most wonderful day I ever had.
You sell a lot?
Oh, sure, but that isn't what I mean.
Oh, what do you mean?
I went into the station at Detroit, and the telegraph operator showed me how his key worked.
Now, Tom, you know your mother has asked you not to talk to everyone who works around those stations.
But this was different, Pop. Oh, boy, I can't wait till tomorrow. He said if I didn't bother him too much, I could watch him send messages tomorrow. I could just operate that key for 1 day. That's all I'd ever ask for.
Detroit! Last stop, Detroit.
So long, Mr. Wilson.
Oh, aren't you going back on the run with us, Tom?
Nope. I'm going to watch the messages being telegraphed. I'll see you on the 4 o'clock run.
All right, Tom. I'll watch your boxes.
Thanks. Well, here I am again.
Now, look, Sonny, I've got more to do today than a cook at thrashing time.
And on top of everything else, my wife just brought my little boy down here for me to watch.
Maybe I could help you do something.
Well, now, I tell you, if you'll go out on the platform and see what my son's up to, that'll help a lot. Then later, maybe I can show you how this key works.
Oh, boy, sure. Right away.
He's just a little tight, only 3 years old, so keep an eye on him.
I will, sir.
Hey, Sonny, come back here. Get off the track.
Tom, are you all right? Little fella, how's he?
We both are, I guess.
Oh, you caught him just in time, Tom. You saved his life.
Bobby. Oh, Bobby.
I don't know how to thank you. You're a lucky man.
Oh.
You owe a lot to young Tom here.
I don't want anything for it. Just lucky I was here.
Well, I'm not a rich man, Tom, but I do have something you want, and you're welcome to it. I'm going to make you the best telegraph operator in the Midwest.
Oh, boy. Do you mean it?
I never meant anything more in my life. You just come in here every day for an hour or so, and I'll teach you everything I know about the keys.
Golly. I guess I'm just about the luckiest kid in Michigan.
After that, he had the bugs. He'd had his hands on one of those telegraph things, and there wasn't any use telling him anything different. He made a full set of instruments for himself in a Detroit machine shop before he'd finished with the course from the operator in Detroit. At 15, he was a full-fledged telegraph operator. And then that tragic time in the life of every mother when her son decides he has to leave home. He went wandering around the whole blessed Middle West getting experience so he could be a first-class operator. He wrote home faithfully and told us about some of the experiences he had.
Dear Ma and Pa, today was pretty awful. I was sitting around the station here in Memphis. There wasn't a thing to do. It suddenly occurred to me that maybe it would work. Let me see now. If I get the next station to send me a message. There. Now, if you'll just send that back in 1 minute. It's got to work. Got to put this extra piece of wire in here and time it just right. Just about time. 1, 2 seconds. 3. There he goes. Now to send my message back. Right over the same wire at the same time.
Hey, you there. What are you up to?
Oh, Mr. Michaels, I didn't hear you come in.
No, I guess you didn't. That's more your tomfoolery, huh?
Mr. Michaels, I think it worked.
Huh? What works? What are you talking about?
The wire. I've just sent 2 messages over the same wire.
2 messages? I never heard such rot. You're busy playing here with a train due in 4 minutes. Hey, we don't want dreamers like you around here. Now get out.
Like I said, folks, today was pretty awful. But I found out it could be done. You can send 2 messages on 1 wire. And I'm going to prove it can be done if I get fired from every job in the country trying.
And we began to think maybe he would get fired from every job. That time, I can't remember what city that was, they gave him a room above the station. But Thomas didn't sleep in it very much, apparently. He set up a laboratory right away and kept trying experiments every minute he was off duty that he could keep awake. He spilled some acid one day, and it leaked through the ceiling. Scared the station master half to death. I can't say I blamed him. But he didn't have to say the things he did to Thomas. Thomas came home suddenly one day. We hadn't seen him for almost a year. He was bigger and quieter somehow. All his traveling and experience seemed to make him more mature than the other boys his age. It was after supper that first night he was home that we were sitting in the parlor. Just sitting without talking very much. And then Thomas looked up.
Mom, I'm going away again.
Oh, Thomas, you just got home. Can't you stay put for a while?
Where do you want to go off to this time, Tom?
I want to go east. New York, probably, or Boston.
What can you do there that you can't do right here in Port Huron?
Well, the Western Union Telegraph Company's in Boston, for one thing. I believe that if I went to them with my ideas and some of my inventions, they'd listen to me.
Can't you write them a letter to them?
Well, that's a good idea. Then they could tell you if it's worth your while to go all that distance.
No, Mom, I've got to go and show them. It sounds like dreaming when I put it all on paper. But I've got models to show them and drawings, and I can build other things in their laboratories if they'll let me. I guess I just wasn't meant to stay put.
Thomas? Are you asleep?
No, Mom. Come on in.
I couldn't sleep either. Thinking about you going away.
No, don't carry on about it, Mom. Things aren't as far away anymore with trains and all running all the time.
Oh, I've resigned myself to you going, Thomas. But I've been thinking, lying there in the dark tonight. I've been thinking that I don't really know what you're doing, Thomas. Mainly because I don't understand it. I could teach you history and English and things like that. But you figured out chemistry and physics for yourself, remember?
Sure. I remember you couldn't seem to make head or tail of it.
Well, Thomas, I'm still ahead of you on some things. And that's what I wanted to say tonight. I've seen so many very poor people before we ever came out here. Saw them in the cities and on the farms. People who never seemed to have a chance in life. Or I don't know if these inventions of yours are good, but I hope that they'll not be for the rich and for the privileged. Make something that everyone will profit from, Thomas. Make that a test of what you do. If you do that, we'll never really be separated. If you'll do that, it'll be worth all the loneliness I feel.
I don't know if my inventions are any good either, Mom. But if they are, they'll help everybody. That I promise you.
You are listening to the proudly we hail production of Man of Genius. We'll return to our story in just a moment.
Have you noticed the new trim wax uniform worn by the young women who are serving in the Women's Army Corps? This new uniform not only stamps the wearer as being smartly dressed, it also indicates that she is doing her part to keep America strong. If you are a young woman between 18 and 34 and can qualify, you are urged to do your part in making unity, strength, freedom a reality. Go to your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station and enlist in the Women's Army Corps today.
You are listening to Proudly We Hail. And now we present the second act of Man of Genius.
And so Thomas went to Boston. Years passed. In the rush of news on the eastern seaboard, his idea that a wire might carry more than one message at a time fell on fertile ground. The double transmitter was in action by the spring of 1868. Then Thomas had another idea, and he went to New York to tell some men in Wall Street about it. Thomas must have felt like a duck out of water with all those great men of finance gathered around his sketches.
I don't know. I don't know.
Now, Edison, just how will this thing help us?
Well, as I see it, this machine could be manufactured at a fairly low cost. You could each have one in your office. It's the same principle as the telegraph. An operator would sit down by the board in Wall Street, and as soon as stocks were sold or bought, would transmit the price fluctuations out to the owners of the machines. That way, you'd know instantly what the stocks you're interested in are doing.
I think it might be.
Edison, I think you've got a good thing here.
Yes, it would certainly mean a great saving for me in the long run.
I'd say go ahead and let's get started manufacturing these things.
Why, there isn't a broker in the country who wouldn't have to buy one immediately.
Yeah, we'll buy this, Edison. Looks to me as if you're not a crackpot inventor after all. Well, come right on in, Edison. I'm delighted to see you again.
I wasn't sure you'd remember me.
Remember you? You made me a lot of money with that ticker tape machine of yours. Well, what's on your mind now?
I'm conducting an experiment, a brand new idea. Tomorrow, out in my laboratory in New Jersey. Frankly, I'll need money for it if it works. I'd like to have you out there for the trial.
Oh, that's a funny-looking object. Just a sort of cylinder covered with tinfoil. What does the thing do?
The thing must talk.
I'll bet you $100 it won't. Hey, maybe you are a crackpot after all.
I don't even have $2, but I'll bet you that barrel of apples in my office against your 100.
You're on. Turn the crank and make it talk.
Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. And everywhere that Mary went, a lamb was sure to go.
Well, I'll be... Oh, that's a trick. Do it again.
All right.
Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. And everywhere that Mary went, a lamb was sure to go.
Well, there goes my $100. I'll send you a check in the morning, Edison. But I want to make the check a lot bigger. I want a piece of that
phonograph is what I called it.
Man, you ought to be on top of the world. What's the matter with you? You look as if you lost your last friend.
Oh, it's crazy of me, but, well, I'm a little scared.
Scared? What of? It worked, didn't it?
That's just it. It worked the first time. I've always been afraid of things that work the first time. The phonograph was born too easily.
Things didn't always come easily for Thomas, mainly because he dreamed years, decades, generations ahead of himself. He'd write us about his dreams.
A man in Europe has invented a machine by which he takes an instantaneous photograph. Let us suppose that he photographs Henry Ward Beecher every second, and that we take down his sermon on the tinfoil matrix. The pictures and gestures of the orator, as well as his voice, could be exactly reproduced, and the eyes and ears of the audience charmed by the voice and manner of the speaker. Why, whole dramas and operas can be produced in private parlors. And, Ma, I'll see that they're in the parlors of the poor, too.
In the parlors of the poor. That might very well have been the motto Thomas lived by, particularly when he went through the years of torment and experimentation over the incandescent lamp. Frankly, I never understood but half of what he was talking about when he wrote us about his new invention. Miss Edison tried to explain it to me, but my head just used to swim with all the terms and processes and such. It was in most of the papers, though.
Listen to this. You want to hear about a lot of foolishness? Thomas Alva Edison, inventor, announced today that his New Jersey laboratory has stopped all other manufacturing to engage in research on a new incandescent lamp. Mr. Edison, famed for the invention of the ticker tape machine and the electric phonograph, said that electricity can be harnessed to light and heat homes. Edison added that the lamps could be processed inexpensively enough so that they would be within the reach of any workman. Wouldn't you think a grown man could better spend his time in honest day's work than in trying to fool the people?
I've heard it said that I'm simply looking for publicity. Well, if that were true, I guess maybe I should have called in some of the men from the newspapers for today's experiment.
You think it'll work, Tom?
I don't know. We've tried just about everything, Cliff, to get just the right material for the filament. The materials in this lamp make it cheap enough, just glass and copper and a piece of cotton thread.
When I think of the months we spent trying to figure out how to pump the air from the glass globe.
It'll be worth all our work and loss of sleep if it works. Let's shoot the current through it.
Light it up.
Measure the resistance.
275 ohms. This is all the power we dared hope for.
Well, it's more than I thought we'd get. Now, let's see if the lamp will last.
It's been 4 hours, Tom.
Yes, well, that isn't long enough to make it practical. It'll have to burn more than that.
Tom, you've got to get some sleep. Been here all night and half the morning.
What about yourself, Cliff? Oh, let's not fool ourselves. We both know that we couldn't leave this lamp. We've got to know how long it will burn.
It's flickering, Tom. Going out.
There it goes. All over. Well, 45 hours, just a few minutes more.
Great, Tom.
Great, yes, but not enough. It has to burn at least 100 hours, or only the very rich will be able to afford them. Let's go to work.
Listen to this. To help men visualize the meaning of his revolution in illumination, Thomas Alva Edison set up 400 lights in the streets and houses around his laboratory last night, all connected to underground conductors run into the dynamos in one of the shop buildings. The crowd, which gathered for the unusual greeting of the new year, 1879, came in special trains from New York to see for themselves. The visitors were dazzled by the brilliance of the lights, which Edison says will be available to the public at reasonable cost. He predicts they will be in thousands of homes before the next new year. You see, Martha, just like I said when I first read about this man Edison, he's a fellow to watch, I said. Well, I was right.
Yes, they all believed in him after that. They followed his next inventions and next ideas in the newspapers, and they talked about him in reverent tones on the street corners, and his name became a household word. Henry Ford put it this way.
The age of industry should be called the age of Edison. Modern industry would be impossible were it not for the mobility of our artificial power and the facility of our communication and transportation, due to Edison. Tom gave America a new declaration of independence, not in words, but in the nature of a kit of tools, by the use of which each and every person among us has gained a larger measure of economic liberty than had ever previously been thought possible. Tom has done more toward abolishing poverty than all the reformers and statesmen since the beginning of the world. He gave man the means to help himself. Perhaps greater than all else was his example in linking science with our everyday life and demonstrating that through patient, unremitting testing and trying, any problem may eventually be solved.
Maybe Thomas Edison put it best himself, simply, and in words that any man could understand.
Nothing is impossible. We merely don't know yet how to do some things, but nothing is impossible.
A brief word to the young women who will graduate from high school this year. Why not get an early start with a job that gives you the feeling of being of real service to your country? You'll enjoy that feeling in the modern Women's Army Corps. Besides, you'll be in a job that will be a little different every day, and you'll be getting the finest technical training in the world. So don't let opportunity pass you by. Visit your nearest United States Army and United States Air Force recruiting station today.
This has been another program on Proudly We Hail, presented transcribed in cooperation with this station by the United States Army and United States Air Force Recruiting Service. This program featured a cast of outstanding players. This is Kenneth Banghart speaking and inviting you to tune in this same station next week for another interesting story on Proudly We Hail.
This episode from the life of Sherlock Holmes will be transmitted to our men and women overseas by shortwave and through the worldwide facilities of the Armed Forces Radio Service. Petri Wine brings you Basil Rathbone and Nigel Bruce in the new adventures of Sherlock Holmes. The Petri family, the family that took time to bring you good wine, invite you to listen to Dr. Watson tell us another exciting adventure he shared with his old friend, that master detective, Sherlock Holmes. And I'd like to tell you about something Dr. Watson shared with me the other night, some Petri California sherry. Did you ever have a glass of Petri sherry before dinner? Well, that's a swell time for it, because that Petri sherry is the best beginning a good meal ever had. What a wine. You don't have to serve it in fancy wine glasses either. Not Petri sherry. That wine would taste wonderful if you drank it out of a water glass. You can just taste those sun-ripened grapes. And incidentally, if you like your sherry dry, not sweet, then just do what I do. Ask for Petri Pale Dry Sherry. It's a good idea to always have a bottle of Petri sherry in the house, because it's just the thing to serve when company catches you unprepared. And believe me, you can serve that Petri sherry proudly, because it's a fact that the name Petri is the proudest name in the history of American wines. And now let's visit with our good friend, Dr. Watson. I know he's expecting us.
Come in. Good evening, Mr. Bartell.
Evening, Doctor. Oh, you have the old black tin dispatch box out again,
Yes, my boy. I've just been refreshing my memory on one or two points in connection with tonight's story. Draw up a chair.
Thanks.
That's it. The tobacco's in the jar beside you.
Thanks, Doctor. I'm particularly excited about hearing your story tonight. Last week you told us that Sherlock Holmes' brother, Mycroft Holmes, took part in the adventure.
That's quite right, Mr. Bartell.
I didn't even know Mr. Holmes had a brother. I wish you'd tell me something about him.
Well, Mycroft was 7 years older than Sherlock, but the difference between them was amazing. While Holmes was lean and consumed with a burning energy, his elder brother was fat and lazy. And yet Holmes has often told me that Mycroft was his superior in powers of observation and deduction.
Well, now that you've thoroughly whetted my appetite, Doctor, how's about it?
Very well, my boy. I suppose this story really began in Mycroft Holmes's room at the Foreign Office in London. Although I've said he was a lazy man, he did hold a position of considerable importance. In fact, you may remember that on more than one occasion, Holmes has said, Mycroft is the British government. But to get back to my story. It's on a June morning in 1912, just before the First World War, that a young man in the Foreign Office named Guy Travers stood talking to Mycroft Holmes, who sat sprawled in an armchair before him, his feet resting on another chair, his cupped hands cradling his ample stomach.
Mr. Holmes? I say, Mr. Holmes, you haven't gone to sleep, have you, sir?
No, Travers, I'm not asleep. I'm just waiting for you to get to the point.
Well, sir, the point is that I'm on the track of a most elusive female spy.
Dear me, how exhausting.
She's dangerous, sir, very dangerous. She's not only a collector of information, but a sort of central clearinghouse of military secrets as well.
You seem to be a little young, Travers, to be on such a case.
I asked for the assignment, sir.
Why? Female spies aren't as glamorous as they sound, you know.
No one knows that better than I do, sir. You see, my brother got mixed up with this girl 2 years ago. He was cashiered from his regiment and committed suicide.
I'm sorry, Travers. Tell me what you found out about her. You say you've been on her track?
I've traced her to a number of seaside towns, but she keeps slipping through my fingers.
Have you a list of the towns?
Yes, sir. Here you are.
No. You read them to me.
Well, I first got on her track at Torquay. From there, I trailed her to Weymouth, Bournemouth, Portsmouth, Bognor, Worthing, Hove, Brighton, and...
I trust you drew the obvious conclusion.
I think I did, sir. Several of those towns are naval bases.
No. The list you've just read me is a recognized theatrical circuit.
Oh, I never thought of that.
The simplest way to track down your spy is to find whether she was appearing in either a play or variety act in all of the towns on the dates covered by your inquiries.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, I'll do that at once, and then I'll report back to you.
Oh, very well, if you must. Close the door quietly, won't you? I'm confoundedly sleepy.
Mr. Holmes, you haven't gone to sleep again, have you, sir?
Oh, it's you, Travers. Well, what did you find out?
A great deal, sir. The only theatrical show that was appearing at all of those towns was a magician's act called The Great Gandolfo.
I trust you went and saw the performance.
Yes, sir. Last night at Hastings.
And?
The magician's assistant was a girl who looked exactly like the one I saw my brother with 2 years ago.
Did you go backstage and talk to her?
Yes, sir. But it's a funny thing. For though she looked exactly like the other girl, I swear she isn't the same one. This girl seemed utterly charming and sincere when she told me she'd never heard of my brother.
That's the danger of putting you young fellas on a case of this kind. A beautiful woman and a good actress can fool you 9 times out of 10. What's your next move, Travers?
Well, sir, I was hoping perhaps you might come down with me and see the act. It's playing at Eastbourne tomorrow. It's not very far, sir.
Stir my 20 stone. leave the comforts of my office and club to track a spy. No, my boy. However, your mention of Eastbourne gives me an idea.
Yes, sir?
My young brother Sherlock is living on a bee farm a few miles outside Eastbourne. He might help you.
He's a great detective, isn't he, sir?
I have never regarded him as one, though I will admit that for a man with such a shocking excess of physical energy, he possesses a relatively superior mind. Yes, go and ask Sherlock.
Thank you, sir, I will.
Tell him that if he can't solve the case, I'll do it for him, and without leaving London.
And so, Mr. Holmes, I did as your brother suggested and came down here to Eastbourne to tell you about the case.
I quite understand, Mr. Travers.
Very interesting story it is, too, my boy. I'm certainly glad that I happen to be staying down here with you, Holmes. You'll handle the case, of course.
I'm undecided, old fellow. The problem presents some interesting possibilities, and yet my life here among the bees has taken on a pleasant and soothing pattern. Oh, I hate to disturb
it. Oh, come, Holmes. It'll be good for you to get away from your wretched bees for a few days.
I forgot to tell you, Mr. Holmes. As I left your brother, he told me that if you couldn't solve the case, he'd do it for you, without leaving London.
Dear old Mycroft, he meant that as a challenge. Hand me the paper, will you, Watson?
Yeah.
Thanks, old chap.
Well, what are you looking for?
The amusement guide. Here it is. Devonshire Theatre, Eastbourne, twice, nightly varieties, 6:30 and 9, the Great Gandolfo, King of Magic.
You mean you'll come to the theatre with me tonight, Mr. Holmes?
Certainly. I can't allow Mycroft's challenge to go unanswered, and I'm sure that Dr. Watson will accompany us when I tell him Miss Sissy Gitana is also appearing on the bill singing, an old favorite of his. There was I waiting at the church, waiting at the church, waiting at the church.
Lord, how it did upset me. All at once he sent me round a note. Here's the very note. This is what he wrote. Can't get away to marry you today. My wife won't let me.
That's the most entertaining woman, Sissy Katana. And that's good looking, too. My wife won't let me.
The Great Gandolfo is next, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, I'm just studying the program. He's not exactly modest in his claims, is he? The Great Gandolfo, the world-staggering illusionist. Presenting the ceiling cabinet mystery, assisted by Miss Florine Lesueur. Oh, dear me, how very florid.
I must say I love this old music hall flavor. I remember going to the Palace Theatre a few years ago to see a perfectly charming girl who wore a white dress that made her look like a little white rabbit. That dress did look frightfully becoming, I must say. I sent my card round the stage door with some flowers, of course, but to my amazement...
It's a fascinating story, old fellow, but I'm afraid you'll have to finish it later. The curtain's going up.
There he is. That's the Great Gandolfo.
By Jove, this assistant's very attractive, isn't she?
Listen.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to be here before you tonight. I may say that the ceiling cabinet mystery that I am about to present has entertained and perplexed half a dozen of the crown kings of Europe, together with their queen.
Come, don't talk so much. Get on with the trick.
And I may say, I'm hoping that you, ladies and gentlemen, will give me the same courtesy and attention that was given me by the royalty I have just mentioned. Now, before I present my illusion, I should like to ask for 2 volunteers from the audience who will come up here beside me on the stage so that I may be watched. Two volunteers, please.
Wait for us here, Mr. Travers.
Very well, Mr. Holmes.
Come on, Watson.
You mean that we're going up on the stage?
Yes, it's a wonderful opportunity.
Do I see 2 gentlemen rising? Splendid. 2 gentlemen are coming up from the audience. Two gentlemen that I have never seen before. Watch the step, please. That's it. Over the footlights and onto the stage. That's right. And now, sir, have you ever seen me before?
Never.
And you, sir? Don't be afraid to speak up, sir.
No, I haven't.
Mr. Sucer, please see that the gentlemen are seated. I thank you. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to watch me closely. You will observe that there is a wooden cabinet on the stage. There is also another cabinet of the same shape and size hanging high above me, which you can all see. A glass of water, please, Mr. Sucer.
Oh, go on. Put a stock in it.
What did you say, sir?
You heard. You ain't got claw ears.
We will dispense with the glass of water. Now, my assistant, Miss Florine Sucer, will step into this cabinet on the stage. I want you two gentlemen to watch very closely. Miss Sucer is now lying inside the cabinet, is she not?
Yes, she is.
Very well. I close the lid. So, I lock it with these bolts. And now, I ask one of you gentlemen to attach this padlock to the box. You, sir, will you oblige me?
Very well.
I thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before your eyes you have seen Mr. Sucer enter a cabinet on this stage. A cabinet that has been bolted and padlocked. You can still see the duplicate cabinet hanging above me by an attachment of wires and pulleys. I now count a 1, a 2, a 3, and fire this revolver at the cabinet above me. Now, if you two gentlemen will kindly help me, we will lower the ceiling cabinet to the stage. You will notice that this cabinet is also bolted and padlocked. I will ask one of you two gentlemen to unbolt it. I thank you, sir. And to this gentleman, I shall hand the key of the padlock. Kindly unlock it, sir. I thank you. And now, if you will both raise the lid of the cabinet. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is Miss Florine Sucer. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Why did we have to leave, Holmes? I was having a wonderful time.
Sorry to drag you away, Watson, but there's work to be done.
Mr. Holmes, if you want to go backstage, I'll introduce you to Miss Sucer.
Oh, that's a splendid idea.
Before we do that, Mr. Travers, there's one important fact I want to know.
What is it, sir?
I presume you have a dossier of the available facts concerning this spy?
Yes, sir. Everything that we've been able to find out.
Among that evidence, do you by any chance have any fingerprint records?
Yes, sir, I do.
Splendid. Then let's go at once to the nearest police station and compare the fingerprints on this glass with those in your possession.
Where did you get that glass, Holmes?
You remember that Miss Sucer, before she entered that cabinet on the stage, handed Gandolfo a glass of water.
You mean that's the glass?
Why else should I be carrying a drinking glass with me, old chap?
Very neat, Mr. Holmes, and right under the nose of a magician, too.
Well, I'm not exactly inept at the practice of legerdemain myself, Mr. Travers. Come on, let's have a talk with that local fingerprint expert, shall we?
Mr. Holmes, the fingerprints on this glass you brought me are not the same as the ones shown in this record.
You're positive?
Oh, absolutely, sir.
Just as I thought. I'm much obliged to you.
Always glad to help a gentleman like you, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, and good night. Come on, Travers. Watson?
Yes, I wish you'd explain what you're up to, Holmes.
So do I, sir. I'm completely in the dark.
Surely it's obvious. The only way Gandolfo's trick could be done is by using twin girls, dressed identically, of course. One in the cabinet on the stage and the other in the cabinet hanging from the ceiling. I don't know whether you noticed it, Watson, but there were some small holes drilled around the base of the box, undoubtedly to enable its occupant to breathe.
By George, of course. That would explain why the girl I spoke to didn't seem to know me, or my brother when I spoke of him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And in any case, how better could a spy hide herself from a role where her employer, a magician, must, by the very nature of his trick, deny her existence? The question is, which girl is the spy? This fingerprint test has given us the answer.
You mean it isn't the girl on the stage, the one who assisted Gandolfo?
It certainly is not, old fellow. Your spy will be in the cabinet, suspended high above the stage of the Devonshire Theatre at 9 o'clock this evening. But this time we will watch the performance from the audience.
closely, ladies and gentlemen. There is no deception. 1, 2, 3. And now, if you two gentlemen will kindly help me, we will untie the ropes and lower the ceiling cabinet to the stage.
Holmes, we must never get away.
Don't worry, old chap. But keep your eyes skinned. He may have a surprise for us.
And I will now ask one of you two gentlemen to unbolt the cabinet. I thank you, sir. And now, if this gentleman will take the key and unlock the padlock, I thank you, sir. And now, if you will both raise the lid of the cabinet, I thank you. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is Miss Florine Sucer. Miss Sucer, step out, please. Miss Sucer, bring down the curtain with an action.
Come on, Watson. Let's get up on the stage.
Right, so, Holmes.
What happened, sir?
It's Miss Sucer. She's been injured.
I'm a doctor. Let me look at her.
I'm afraid she's beyond the help of doctors, Watson. Look at that bullet wound in her head. She's been murdered.
We'll hear the rest of Dr. Watson's story in just a few seconds, so I'm just going to make a very quick suggestion. If you like good food, who doesn't, you'll find that good food always tastes better when accompanied by a good glass of Petri wine. And Petri makes wonderful mealtime wines. If you like a red wine, you know, to go with any meat or meat dish, you really like Petri California Burgundy. And if you prefer a white wine to go with chicken or fish, you couldn't ask for a better one than Petri California Sauterne. Remember those two wines, huh? Petri Burgundy and Petri Sauterne. They're Petri wines, so you know they're good. And now back to Dr. Watson and tonight's new Sherlock Holmes adventure, The Great Gandolfo. What happened next, Doctor? You just got to the part where you and Sherlock Holmes, on the stage of a vaudeville theater, were examining the dead body of one of the Great Gandolfo's assistants.
That's right, my boy. As you can imagine, the excitement was intense. The local police were soon at the theater, and the officer in charge, a certain Sergeant Buff, seemed to take a very great personal dislike to Sherlock Holmes.
The great Sherlock Holmes comes out of retirement to teach our police force how to handle a case, does he?
Sergeant Buff, you're being ridiculous. I'm not trying to teach the police anything. You follow your own line of investigation, and I'll follow mine.
And supposing I say I don't want private detectives poking their nose into a police investigation?
Then, my good man, I shall report your conduct to the local chief of police and obtain the necessary permission.
No need to get uppity about it, Mr. Holmes, but too many cooks spoil the broth, you know.
Oh, an extremely profound remark, Sergeant. And now, if you'll excuse me, I've work to do.
And so have I. And we'll see who gets to the bottom of this first. I'm going to Gandolfo's dressing room.
Holmes, I'm worried about the dead girl's twin sister. I've been looking for her everywhere, and no one seems to have seen her since the tragedy occurred.
Naturally, my dear chap, you'd hardly expect her to reveal the secret of the cabinet trick by exposing the fact that the dead girl had a twin.
I never thought of that. But we saw her there on the stage when the trick started. Seems to me that she's in great danger.
She is in very great danger. Now, don't worry. I've taken the precaution of having her guarded.
Oh? How, Holmes?
I'll explain that to you later. In the meantime, we have to work fast. It appears that Sergeant Buff is out to try and show me up by solving the case first. That makes the second challenge I've received today.
Well, Mr. Holmes, and how are you getting along?
Splendidly, thanks. And you?
I'm beaten. I don't mind admitting it. I thought at first the one man it couldn't be was Gandolfo because he was on the stage all the time. But then it seemed to me that he might have fired a live bullet when he shot at the box on the ceiling.
The angle from the stage wouldn't coincide with the bullet hole in the bottom of the box, Sergeant. That shot must have been fired from the audience below.
Mr. Holmes, you know who did it, don't you?
Yes, Sergeant, I do.
I wish you'd tell me, Mr. Holmes.
It should be obvious, Sergeant. Watson, you examined the corpse. Please tell the sergeant your findings.
The girl was lying on her back in the box. There was a small hole in her forehead and a large one in the nape of her neck.
Exactly. And since the point of entrance of a bullet is smaller than the point of exit, it proves that she must have been shot lying in the box from above. Once the box was in position over the audience,
She could have been shot only from below. Therefore, the girl had already been killed when the box was hoisted to the ceiling.
By Jove, yes. And only one person could have done that.
Only two.
How do you figure that out, Mr. Holmes?
The dead girl's sister had the same opportunity as the great Gandolfo himself.
Of course she had. Now I see why you were having her watched, Mr. Holmes. If you'll excuse me saying so, sir, I begin to think it's a good thing you're on this case after all.
Oh, that's very generous of you, Sergeant. And now, perhaps, if you'll do me the favor of keeping an eye on Mr. Gandolfo yourself.
Of course I will, sir.
Where are we going, Holmes?
To the Jolly Fisherman Hotel to call on Miss Sucer.
How do you know she's there?
I just received a message from young Travers. He followed her on my instructions as she left the theater. Come on, old chap. There's no time to be lost. There you are, Travers. Miss Sucer is still here, I trust.
Yes, Mr. Holmes. She's up in her room.
I wonder if you'd mind asking her to come down and see me. I'm sure that we can talk privately in the lounge over there.
Right you are, Mr. Holmes. I'll go and get her.
What are you going to say to Miss Sucer, Holmes?
That depends on her attitude, old chap. Come on, let's go into the lounge, shall we?
Oh, it's a lucky thing that you had her followed.
It was an obvious precaution, Watson. You see, I realized from the very nature of the cabinet trick that Miss Sucer would have to leave the theater after escaping through the trapdoor below the cabinet that was on the stage, before her twin sister descended from the cabinet that was suspended from the ceiling.
And she doesn't know that her sister's been murdered, huh?
If she's innocent, she doesn't. And if she is innocent, then we'll know that our murderer is Gandolfo. Here she comes.
I've told Miss Sucer that you want to talk to her privately, Mr. Holmes.
If it's the act you want to talk about, Mr. Holmes, I've nothing to say. Magicians have a code of honor, you know.
I quite appreciate that fact, Miss Sucer. Won't you sit down?
What do you want with me?
I have news for you. News of your twin sister.
I haven't got a twin sister.
My friend knows exactly how the cabinet trick is done, my dear young lady.
Yes, you might as well tell the truth, Miss Sucer.
Well, all right then, so I have a twin sister. What of it? No crime in that, is there? What are you getting at?
I want you to believe that I'm here to help you, my dear. You're going to need help and courage.
What are you getting at? Just come on, tell me.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. Miss Sucer, your sister is dead.
Dead? Huh. I don't believe it.
I'm afraid it's true. She was murdered.
You're lying. This is a trick. You're trying to make me give myself away.
I'm trying to get at the truth. Your sister was found shot through the head when the cabinet was lowered to the stage tonight.
I still don't believe it.
Why should my friend lie to you?
How was your sister the last time you saw her for the commencement of the act?
No different from any other time.
Who was responsible for superintending her entry into the cabinet?
Gandolfo, or me. She used to go into it before the performance, when the stage was dark and deserted.
Did you help her enter the box tonight?
No. Gandolfo did.
You knew, of course, of your sister's activities.
How do you mean?
That she was engaged in espionage.
That's not true.
Very well, Miss Sucer. If you won't be honest with me, I'm afraid I'll have to turn you over to the police. I think you'll find their methods are a little more crude than mine, though.
The police? Oh, no. No, don't do that, Mr. Holmes. All right, I'll tell you everything. Gandolfo got me so frightened of him. I was lying to you. I knew that my sister was working for him. I tried to stop her, but she loved money. And Gandolfo gave her plenty of that. They had a row before the show tonight. She knew you were on the stage at the first performance, Mr. Holmes. Gandolfo had spotted you, too. For she was frightened. Said she knew you'd catch her and she wanted to run away. Gandolfo told her that she had to appear tonight. And they were still arguing about it when they left the dressing room. The dirty swine killed her because he was afraid she'd give him away. And now he'll kill me, too.
Don't worry, my dear. The great Gandolfo will be beyond the help of magic before this night is out.
Yes, he'll be behind bars where he belongs.
Travers.
Yes, sir.
Now stay here with Miss Sucer, will you? We'll be back later. At the moment, there is unfinished business awaiting us at the Devonshire Theatre.
Well, Mr. Holmes, I can't tell you how grateful I am. Gandolfo's safely in prison thanks to you, and now you tells me you don't want no credit in the case.
Oh, my dear Sergeant. I'm really a bee farmer, you know. In any case, I want to restore your faith in private detectives. The next time you meet one, I'm sure you won't be so unfriendly, shall I say?
I'm humble, sir. I'm very humble, and I thank you very kindly for all you've done. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Holmes, this telegram arrived for you at the theater while you were away, and here you are, sir.
Oh, thank you, Sergeant Buck.
No, sir, Me that should be thanking you, sir.
Who on earth knew that you were at the theater tonight?
And we'll soon find out.
Huh? What does it say, Holmes?
It's from my brother, Mycroft.
Mycroft? What's he got to say?
Oh, really? It's quite humiliating. After all, he said he wouldn't have to, and he never did leave his armchair in London. Listen to this. Have just checked on Gandolfo's repertoire of magic tricks. You will find spy in box suspended from ceiling of theater. Elementary. Eh, my dear Sherlock?
By Jove, Holmes, he really is amazing, isn't he?
He is also a prophet, old chap.
Prophet? How do you mean?
Well, he indicates the handwriting on the wall. I'm past my prime. I'm too old for alert detection. It's back to me bee farm, old fellow. It's back to me bees.
Well, Doctor, that was a swell story. I bet it was an interesting case to work on.
Yes, it certainly was. I've always had a fancy for the theater, you know.
What you really mean, Doctor, is you always had an eye for a pretty girl.
Mr. Bartell, you're a very blunt fellow.
Why not? I must admit, I like to look at a pretty girl myself.
You, Mr. Bartell?
Why shouldn't I like to look at a pretty girl?
Oh, go right ahead and look, my dear fellow. Go right ahead. You just sort of surprised me a bit, that's all. I never thought you gave a moment's consideration to anything but Petri wine.
Now you're really pulling my leg. I must admit, I do talk a lot about Petri wine, but after all, Doctor, it's worth talking about. What other wine has such tradition, such a story behind it? Petri wine is made by a family, the Petri family. They've owned and run their own business ever since its inception, back in the 1800s. The Petri family's been making good wine for generations, and they've been handing on down in the family from father to son, the fine art of turning luscious, sun-ripened grapes into fragrant, delicious wine. And that sure adds up to a lot of experience. You can just bet your last dollar that no matter what kind of wine you want, when you ask for a Petri wine, you're asking for good wine. Because Petri took time to bring you good wine. Well, Doctor, how's about giving us a clue to next week's Sherlock Holmes adventure?
Well, now, next week, Mr. Bartell, I'm going to tell you a most unusual story that took place aboard a small steamship as it plowed through the stormy seas of the Indian Ocean. I call the adventure Murder by Moonlight. Oh, before I say good night, ladies and gentlemen, remember that on Saturday, October the 27th, the nation will observe Navy Day. This is your opportunity to thank your fleet for its magnificent contribution towards victory. Don't forget, will you?
Tonight's Sherlock Holmes adventure is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher and was suggested by an incident in the Sir Arthur Conan Doyle story, The Second Stain. Mr. Rathbone appears through the courtesy of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer and Mr. Bruce through the courtesy of Universal Pictures, where they are now starring in the Sherlock Holmes series. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family. Sherlock Holmes comes to you from our Hollywood studios. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.